Open your minds.
Hours of power. Hours of power. Hours of power. Hours of power.
And so a community is where you control your police, you control your commerce, you control your education, you control your house. We don't control none of that. We live in a hood. Huh? Well, what about the Negroes that get out? Oh, well, say, my cousin, they say he's a multi-millionaire, almost got $1 billion.
The Proper Thought
3
Series.
PhDs, working on 2 more. Driving down the street in Chicago in his Rolls Royce, enjoying himself, and he hears these sirens and look through the mirror and see this cop car flashing lights. He squeezed the steering wheel, man. Heart beats fast. Because he knows the plight of a Negro, what it could be. And then when that cop car passed him by, he said, thank God he wasn't after you in the first place, punk. That Negro thing you can't get away from. It's universal. They wasn't coming after you. With all your millions, with your Rolls Royce, with your PhD, didn't help. That's the hood. Why do you think you never pick up the paper until you read over and over and see white families? You think of the thousands of black cops in America. Why don't you see white families crying as black cops got my loved one 42 times in the back of the head? Why do you think black cops don't do that? You think they're more spiritual? Think they're better? No! They got enough sense to know that white folks ain't gonna tolerate it. And I will stop in our neighborhood when we decide we will not tolerate it. Now, if we was organized, which is hard to organize people who are just gonna run crazy and you don't know you're crazy. But if we were, with the money we have, and the many people who would come to our aid that don't know what it's like to be a Negro, and we said, if we said, look, we saying, if we don't get a federal law to deal with police brutality, that anytime a cop or anybody carry a gun, have to have a license just like you do to drive a car. And if you use it wrongly, you'll lose your license. And if it's upheld, you can never work again as a cop or a store guard or a private detective. How do you get Congress to push that through? Well, you take your economic power and you call on your friends, black, white, young and old, and say, this coming Christmas, if we don't have a federal law to outlaw police brutality by law, then we call them for a nationwide boycott of Christmas and it'll start on Thanksgiving. Well, let me tell you what that means. 79% of all retail in America happens between Thanksgiving and Christmas. People stay in business all year, lose money just for Christmas, Well, what happens now? Sac Fifth Avenue, Toys R Us, Sears and Roebuck, Weston House. They will get the bill, and all they got to do is make one phone call and say, Harry, that's the senator, I want that bill pushed through in 3 days. Okay, it's an economic thing. It's that simple. But we have the power, but the system has wiped us out so bad.
Hours of power. Hours of power. Hours of power.
Happy. San Lincoln 6. Go ahead. Clear a suspect down, 10-4. That's 10-4. The officer's code 4. We have one suspect that's been shot.
Open your minds. And peace, folks. Welcome back to another edition of the Proper Thought Series right here on the old T.P.O.T. YouTube page. I'm your host, X, of course, but you knew that already. That's why your black asses are here. But tonight, got some good guests coming through tonight. We got the power of offense on. Brother Keith and Brother Rodney will be coming in here and dropping some gems on us about the 15th Amendment, voting, reparations, and I think they have a little bit to say about the lawyer that was here the other week, Mrs. Dixon. I did try to reach out to Mrs. Dixon with no response, by the way. But I think I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to see if I can get her on here if I can. Yeah, but before we get started, as always, folks, I like to start the stream off with thanking you, good folks, man, for what's good, brother Little Rock. I see you up there. What's good, brother Obadiah? What's going on, Lady Nice? I see y'all up there. Yeah, y'all know I always start the show off with thanking you, good folks, for your likes, your shares, your subscriptions, your views, and of course, your hard-earned pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, and 50-cent pieces. Because I realize you don't have to do it. You don't have to goddamn watch these videos. You don't have to subscribe to this channel. You don't have to be at these damn streams all the time. And you definitely don't have to drop your hard-earned coin. But you good folks, man, y'all choose to do so, man. Y'all choose to do it. I don't know if it's out of the kindness of your heart or goddamn you just feel sorry for me. But either way, I'll take it. I appreciate your support, man. I do. I don't take you good folks lightly. I don't take you good folks out there lightly, or the good folks that hang out in here lightly. And I want y'all to know, man, that I'm appreciative, I'm humbled, I'm honored, I'm grateful, man. And I thank you for all that you do. All right. All right. So let's get at it. I'm waiting for the power of offense to come through. I don't know what happened. I did speak with the brothers a little while ago. That was around 5:30, I believe. We had talked via email. So I don't know what happened. Hopefully they didn't forget about a brother. I did send them the links. At least I think I did. I think I sent both of them the link, right? Yeah, I did. So we're just waiting for them to come through, y'all, and see what happens. Oh, okay. I check your emails, brothers. I see y'all up there. Check your emails, brothers. Yeah, it's been a crazy week, man. Well, it's been a crazy couple of weeks. It always is on YouTube. We say that as if, there's ever a week that's not crazy. Lot going on this damn airways, man, and all I can say is, man, this YouTube stuff is it's become part of people's personalities. I guess that's why they take it so personal. As it stands now, and hopefully it never changes, it's not part of my personality. I've never felt the need to, have the quote unquote YouTube family, because I have one for real in real life. And they are enough. They are a handful. What's good, brother Edward? I see you up there, man. Yeah, it's they are a handful. The family that I have is a handful. So I don't want a YouTube family. I don't want people to that I have to keep track of, that people I have to try to keep in line and all of some kind of foolishness. People that I got here in this damn house, boy, they more than enough for me. So I try not to make this YouTube shit a part of my personality, man. I mean YouTube is what I do, man. It's not who I am. And I don't know, man. I think a lot of people, man, YouTube is what they are as opposed to what they do. And that's fine. That's fine. If that's what they want it to be, and that's how they want it to be, that's fine, man. But I just think that when you have people who think that those of us who aren't there, those of us who don't think that way or operate that way, because I've been told, oh man, you don't take this YouTube stuff serious enough. Oh, you don't do this. You're goddamn right. You're goddamn right. Maybe I don't. And I'm glad I don't. I'm glad I don't. Because the crap that I've been seeing over the last week or two, I mean, I just don't get it, man. All right. Let me see. I did send the links. Let me see. What the hell? And we're having some email technical difficulty, y'all. All right, go ahead. Check now. And I'm also going to send it again to Brother Rodney as well. All right, folks. Go ahead, check your emails, brothers. It might have came up in spam. You know. It might have came through in the spam. Might have came through in the spam, brothers. Check your spam folder. Yeah, man. While we wait for the power of offense to come through, man, that's where I'm at with it, man. Like, you know, it's getting harder and harder for me to take this shit, you know, serious like that, man. You know, I have enough shit in my life to deal with, man. For real, I have enough shit in my life to deal with. So I don't think I need the burden of freaking YouTube and, you know, the YouTube crises and the YouTube situations and the YouTube whatever. I don't think there's no room for it. You know, there's no room for the extra YouTube stuff, man. There's no room for it. There's not. You know, maybe if you go back about 35 years, you know, I might have would have had room for that kind of crap, but not anymore, man. Like I said, I got enough shit, man. I got enough shit to deal with, man, between my wife and grandkids and my business and every goddamn thing else I got going on. Man, listen, there's not enough room, man. There's not enough room on the plate for the YouTube stuff, man. You know, there's not enough room on the plate, folks. You know, and people may say, "Oh man, but you're up here. You know, you should be." Oh man, don't tell me shit. I do this because I like doing it. Period. You know, don't try to fit me in a box and say I should be doing X, Y, or Z. I'll do what the hell I want as long as I'm paying for the internet, paying for the lights, and buying this computer and mics and shit. Now, if you start buying all this stuff, you know, the computers and the mics and pay my light bill and, you know, pay the internet that I use, you start doing that, then we can talk. Yeah, then we can talk about what I do. Until then, I'll do what the hell I want. And if you don't like it, there's this button, you know, on your mouse that you can hit and it'll take you right off of here. I promise it'll take you right off. See, Brother Keith is here. Brother Keith, what's good, man? What's going on?
Peace. How you doing, Brother X? Man, I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Good. I'm all right, awesome, man. You know, I'm good. Where's Brother Rodney?
You know, I think he may be having issues logging on, but he
okay.
Yeah, he I know he's listening.
Okay. I did send it to him though. I did send it.
Yes.
If you're in the chat, Brother Rodney, check your email.
Yeah, I don't know why we was having such email issues, but it was on my end. It wasn't yours, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you brothers are here. So go ahead and tell everybody, what you're about, who you are, about your channel, all that kind of stuff. Go ahead and lay that out.
Yes. First, I'd like to start off by saying, and Brother X, I just sent you a donation. I would like to start it off and ask everyone, please send Brother X a donation. We definitely appreciate him having us on to discuss these topics tonight.
I appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that.
Oh, no problemo. I think the best area for us to start would be our name, the Power of Offense, so that no one is confused. Now, the reason we call ourselves the Power of Offense is because we believe in being proactive and assertive. No one is proactive and assertive. What's up, Rodney?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. Brother Rodney, what's good with it, man?
Excellent, brother. How's it going? I appreciate having an opportunity to be here. Let me see if I can click myself so I can see myself. There you go. How's it going? How's it going? Peace, peace, peace to the gods.
Appreciate it, man. Peace. What's going on? Glad you're here, man. Glad you're here. Brother Keith was just kind of laying it out, what y'all got going on. So I guess you can chime in too after he's done.
He does that best. So I'm gonna let him go ahead and do his thing.
All right. Sounds like a plan to me. Go right ahead, brother.
All right. Now, let me explain, first of all, why we call ourselves the Power of Offense. The reason we call ourselves the Power of Offense is because we believe in being assertive, as in proactive. Now, what we talk about on our channel is we provide everyone with legal commentary from a layman's point of view. So we have the standpoint, right, that you can be unskilled at law. All right. Because Rodney and I are not attorneys. You could be unskilled at law and you could still learn it. You can still defend yourself. All right. Now, we have found through life experience that is best to be proactive and assertive, not to wait for something to happen for you to try to figure it out, but to already know what you're getting yourself involved in. Why am I saying this? Because there's a legal maxim, Brother X. The legal maxim is that ignorance of the law is no excuse. Now, this applies to everyone. All right. So this doesn't just apply to attorneys. It applies to everyone. As a matter of fact, I actually have a case law up on my screen, Brother X, that I'd like to read just this quick piece to everybody so they can see what I'm talking about. Now, this case is called Barlow versus United States, 32 U.S. 404, and it's from our federal Supreme Court. Now, this case is from 1833. And I'm not reading the whole case. I'm just going to read the part that deals with ignorance of the law is no excuse. It says, it is a common maxim familiar to all minds that ignorance of the law will not excuse any person, y'all, either civilly or criminally. And it results from the extreme difficulty of ascertaining what is bona fide, the interpretation of the party, and the extreme danger of allowing such excuses to be set up for legal acts to the detriment of the public. So the point is this: the court has to hold everybody responsibly, right, to this maximum of not being ignorant of the law, right? Because if they don't, then anybody can come inside the court and say they didn't know and use that as an excuse to do illegal acts. So do you get where I'm getting at with this, Brother X?
Yeah. Ignorance is not bliss.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I mean, let's really think about it. I mean, we're all citizens of the United States of America, right? All of us. Now, it's black people, right? It's a common theme, right? That a lot of us feel as if the law is not on our side, right? So I would think that it would definitely behoove us as a group of people to learn the law. I mean, seriously, how are you going to protect yourself? Because see, what we have figured out is that the more you know, the less fear you have. Knowing is half the battle. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think that's a good place to start. What you think, Rodney? Look like you had something to say.
Yeah, I agree. And just like Brother X was talking about a few shows ago, he was saying, don't try to be a hero and enforce your rights whenever you have the officer there, but know what to do when it's done. So what Keith is explaining is once you understand the law and all of your rights, you don't have to sit there and talk to the officer about them because he doesn't know. You know what I'm saying? The only thing he knows is just his job. So our job as black men is to pretty much save our skin. But once you understand the law, you can let him run about and to do whatever he has to do. And then the next thing you know, he'll be looking for a job, you know, or he'll be calling you with a whole bunch of apologies, or they'll be trying to settle because you will let him and his fellow officers know how he violated your rights, which are protected under the Constitution.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let me ask you brothers about that. And I tried to get Mrs. Dixon on here because I know y'all take a little bit of issue with her, but unsuccessfully. I did not reach her. Maybe we can get her because I do have her information. I just couldn't get hold of her. Maybe we can, you know, I can get her in here at some point in the future, and y'all can go ahead and, you know, hash whatever it is, whatever issues you have with her out. You know, because I tried to get her in here tonight. You know, when y'all hit me with that email, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna try to see if I can get her back. But you know, she's a lawyer. You know, she's doing her lawyer stuff. So, but anyway, let me go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, actually, most of the things that she said, we do agree with, but it is some things that she's a little off on. And the reason why she's off, and most attorneys are off, is because they only know the law that they were taught in law school. You see what I'm saying? The law that Keith and I know is the same law that are on the books that are housed in the Library of Congress and the National Archives. The bar exam, the bar association, the law schools, they only teach the lawyers a certain type of law, and that type of law doesn't work for us. You know what I'm saying? But then they train us as citizens to be ignorant of the law and to go to those who are learned in law. You see what I'm saying? So the fact whenever Keith and I go to court, we shock their conscience because we put them in a position that law school did not show them. A lot of the judges understand what we're talking about, and some of them have to remove themselves and put somebody on the bench who understand what we're talking about, because we present laws that are on the books, and these laws can really uplift your life. They can uplift your spirits, but we don't know the law because we wasn't taught that in school. We wasn't taught the Constitution. They took civics out of school, so they really did a great job of just dumbing us down, period. And then they pointing us in a direction of lawyers and attorneys who are brilliant, who have brilliant minds, but they're just not taught the law that Keith and I learned. So one day I asked Keith, I said, Keith, why do we always argue or debate with lawyers and attorneys? And it took us a while to actually come up with what we believe is the answer. So that the question that we asked, you said, well, who teach law to lawyers, attorneys, and judges? And our answer was the system of racism and white supremacy. That's who teach all of us. That's who miseducated all of us, the miseducation of the black man and the black women. So that's who taught them law. And then the next question was, well, do you think the system of racism and white supremacy would teach law to lawyers, attorneys, and judges that are free and emancipate and help people that look like us? And the answer to that was hell no. So we know that the law that they teach will not fully free us and help us out the way that it ought to. So it's really not their fault that they don't know. They only know what they was taught.
Okay, well, let's jump into some of the things I talked about with Mrs. Dixon, Ronda Dixon, Esquire. I asked her, should we be, because you know we black men, we don't have to tell the story. I mean, we all get pulled over by the police at one point or another, and you know, for whatever reason, some of us have a tendency to we get that cop who's having a bad day. And I tell my sons and I tell other young brothers that, like I told the lawyer, don't hold court on the side of the road.
Absolutely.
Do you? And I know you brothers agree with that.
Yes.
And tell the people why, because I know why I think you shouldn't do it, but tell the folks why they shouldn't be trying to hold court on the side of the road.
George Floyd is a good reason, and all of the other Breonna Taylor and all the other brothers and sisters who was slaughtered at the hands of police officers who disrespected our rights. So even if most of those people don't even hold court, you know what I'm saying? They just simply just being who they are, trying to avoid a bad situation. So imagine you out there telling a police officer what he's doing, this and that, and all these rights that you may or may not have, but you may or may not can enforce. And this guy, like you said, had a bad day. That's a recipe for disaster. The thing that we have to do, we have to first, and it's a shame because I tell my son and my daughters the same thing you tell your sons, how to act, how to protect yourself. And my children know their rights. But I tell them, you don't enforce your rights on the street. You survive that, and you enforce your rights in court, where your rights are upheld or they even violated.
Exactly. Now, I wanted to say this, Brother X, because it is funny because I took notes from that particular show. Actually, I was going to play clips off my cell phone so that everybody can hear what she's saying, because I don't like to put words in people's mouth. And then I was going to, me and Rodney was going to deal with it from there. That was my thought on how to do it. But I'm gonna tell you, I did write down notes concerning what you just said, because I remember you said during that particular show that you feel like it's unfair that we have to have that talk, or like you had to have that talk with your sons. And my thing is this, and I gotta throw this out there: we have an image problem. Black men have an image problem here in America. We do. What do I mean when I say this? Well, let's look at all of the heinous crimes that goes on in all of the major cities that our people commit. You know what I'm saying? I'm like this. Yes, it is unfair. It is that we have to have those talks with our boys, but we have contributed to that. Yes, we have. Brother X.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay.
I'm listening.
Okay.
I just highlighted you because
on the screen.
I kind of figured you was gonna drop some gems, so I go ahead and make you big on the screen. So
gotcha. Yeah. I mean, my thing is this.
Well, let me ask you this, Brother Keith. The reason why I have an issue with having to do that, and I have two sons. All right, both of my boys are in their 30s now. Okay, but they weren't always in their 30s. At one point, they were teenagers. And, they were learning how to drive and all that kind of stuff and had their own cars. And, I had to talk this stuff. I had to say, look, man, you get pulled over by the police, no sudden movements, keep your eyes face front, put your hands on that goddamn steering wheel. All right. No sudden movements. Don't give away any information that is not asked for. Don't offer up anything that isn't asked for. You're my son, so I know you out there driving with your license. We got this damn car insured. It's registered. Ain't no broken tail lights. Ain't no nothing going on. So you're good as far as that goes. And with that in mind, don't start hooping and hollering and asking this cop, why he pulled you over. Up, whatever he asked you for, give him your license, give your registration, let him go write his ticket, give you your ticket, and you come on home or go over wherever you're going. Now, if this police officer happens to do something to you that's out of line, even with that, you comply. Because, see, we'll get his ass on the back end. We'll get him on the back end. Absolutely. But I need you to survive that encounter so you can come and tell me what happened. I will never know what happened if one of his bullets is in your head and you're laying in the street. He will be telling your story. You won't. That's what I've always told my boys. So, I mean, that's where I'm at with it. I mean,
I totally agree. Everybody should have those conversations with their boys and girls. Now, especially the boys, because we almost as if we're endangered species to them.
I agree. Now I want to say this, Brother X, because people must, I mean, they must know this. You know, if you comply, you won't die. But let me explain what I mean when I say comply. I'm talking about if the police officer tell you to you know what I mean, to step outside the car, just step outside the car, right? Now, if the police officer is asking you specific questions like where you coming from, right? You don't have to answer that.
Exactly.
All of that falls within your Fifth Amendment right not to incriminate yourself. But personally, I like to say it this way because I like to look at everything from a positive standpoint rather than negative. Because a lot of people say the Fifth Amendment protects you from not incriminating yourself. That sounds negative to me. I like to say it this way. The Fifth Amendment helps you to preserve your innocence. What did I mean when I say that? Well, you don't say anything more than you need to say. The only duty you have is to identify yourself. They want to know who you are. You got to tell them your name. You got to identify yourself. Present that ID. That's it. They ask you again where you coming from. You don't have to answer that, because see, they trying to place you in a certain area. And sometimes if they could do that, right, and if they can get circumstantial evidence against you, you can be convicted on circumstantial evidence.
Yes.
So you don't have to answer any of that. Now, me personally, right, I will ask the officer, why did you stop me? Now, I ask in a calm tone, the same way I'm doing right now. You know, excuse me, Mr. Officer, why did you stop me, sir? And have him explain. Because again, he has to establish probable cause. He can't just pull you over just because you look suspicious. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think it's a good practice to have them to state why they pulled you over. What do you think, Rodney?
Especially with the body cams, and now people have car cams, so you can actually check them. You know what I'm saying? So if a police officer pull me over, I automatically can turn my camera on, and I tell them that we're on Facebook Live. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, who are you? You know what I'm saying? Tell them your name, give them everything that you need, but we have to protect ourselves from this. So the fact that we have all this, the camera, you can have cameras in your car. They have cameras that they're supposed to wear. You know, sometimes they glitch off, you know, at the right time for them, but we can protect ourselves. So in circumstances like what's going on now, we can really protect ourselves with the cameras, and then therefore you can ask, you know, well, why'd you pull me over? But once they start to get rowdy, we all have senses and we all have bad senses, so we understand when a situation could be out of hand, or we can predetermine when an officer is having a bad day. You know what I'm saying? So if that's the point, we need to comply and not die.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Brother X, it's something I wanted to hop on you about, man.
Okay.
Check
I'm
this
here.
out. Doing the same broadcast, right? I heard you say that we had a democracy a few times. You might remember that. I had to tell you, I had to correct this, brother.
I don't know if I said we had a democracy. I believe I said because we were talking about ex-felons, people who are getting out of jail, and I was saying that you know, once you're out of jail, you can't participate in said democracy. I don't know if I, but okay,
right. No, you did say that.
But I'll go with it. I'll go with it.
All right. Now you did say that. Now check this out. I'm gonna tell you first of all why those brothers cannot participate in our Republican form of government. All right, because we have a republic here in America. Now, the reason they can't is because they're considered civil liter mortuus. Now, that is a legal term, and that's Latin, and it means that they're civilly dead. See, remember the 13th Amendment, right? 13th Amendment had abolished slavery unless one is dully convicted and incarcerated. Now, I'm paraphrasing, but that's what it basically says. Am I correct, Rodney? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. It says unless you're duly convicted, and that's the loophole they use to reactivate slavery, pretty much.
Yeah, no one shall be put under involuntary servitude unless for punishment for a crime or something to that effect, right?
Right.
But the key word in the 13th Amendment is a duly. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Duly mean that your trial was fair. It was complete. It was unbiased. It was impartial. You know, most trials that people look like us are not, although they are people who actually commit the crimes. So I'm only speaking on those who was unduly convicted under the guise as if it was a duly conviction. You know what I'm saying? So even though they say that you have to that they can use you as a slave upon conviction, that word duly in the Constitution is key, because a lot of the convictions are not duly. It wasn't, you know, the prosecution can withhold evidence. It's countless cases of that. You know, it's countless of cases of brothers incarcerated because one, they took a plea, just like the sister was saying on your show. That's probably the worst thing you could ever do, but sometimes it could help you. But most times I would take it to trial, because that will clog the system up, just like she said. So that's one of the things that I really, really agree with her about, because they kind of spook us and scare us by putting a heavy consequence on the table if we don't cop a plea. You know what I'm saying? And that in and of itself is a direct violation of the Constitution, but you won't have an attorney tell you that unless you understand your rights yourself. So once an attorney put all those years on the table, that's no longer a bargaining chip. You know, that's close to extortion. You know what I'm saying? If I dare you to enforce your rights, because if we find you guilty, you're gonna have triple the time. You know what I'm saying? That's violation of the Constitution, because most of the time the punishment doesn't fit the crime, but they scare you with so much crime that we don't realize that it's unjust punishment. You know, it's a cruel and unusual punishment. So if they pass law that results in cruel and unusual punishment, like the three strike rule, and a person get caught with 3 joints of marijuana and they end up doing 30 years, that's cruel and unusual punishment, because the punishment doesn't fit the crime. These are constitutional issues that most attorneys don't use because they don't follow the Constitution. They put us over here on USC codes, United States codes, and all these law and ordinances that are totally against the Constitution. If you go in there with the Constitution, you will have a lot better success. So a lot what's going on are constitutional issues, and that's what Keith and I specialize in, because we know the Constitution is, according to them, is the highest supreme law of the land. So that's what we start with. And the other 6 million laws, rules, and regulations, although we have a duty to know all those laws and rules, which is over 6 million, to me and Keith, is too many to learn. So therefore, if you learn the supreme law and then let them defend, and it's a much easier position to be in. And if you understand the law, like even Keith and I, whenever we was coming up learning the law, we still will contact and call attorneys, because we know attorneys are brilliant minds. We know that they understand procedural and remedy law. So we always kept in contact, and to this day, I keep in contact with attorneys if I have questions. So you use attorneys, but you be able to check them because you understand the law yourself, and you can just bounce certain ideas off of, and you will end up having a more success case. So therefore, you can't let an attorney railroad, because I done sit in court and watch attorneys actually railroad people who just didn't know how to defend themselves. They didn't know what was going on. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that they don't know a public defender and a paid attorney can and will take advantage of you simply because they know that you don't know. And they say,
now let me say this, Brother X. I want to plug this in because, you know, we're not here to disparage or belittle, you know, Rhonda Dixon Esquire. We're not. You know, we're just here to deal with some of her talking points. Now, again, like Rodney said, we agree with her on most things. It's a few things that we wanted to point out. You know what I'm saying? Now, Rodney is 100% correct that if you don't know, you can be taken advantage of even by your attorney. Matter of fact, Ms. Dixon stated in that interview with you that most of the population is illiterate, and she's 100% correct. Yeah. Most people are walking illiterate. They don't read and they can't read. Now they can teach this stuff how to read.
Let me say a little story about reading and how we were willfully miseducated to not know how to. Reading is comprehension. You know what I'm saying? How many times you have to read something 1,000 times before you understand it? So if you read something and you don't understand what you're saying, that means that you're illiterate. So we all are illiterate because we was taught from little children how not to read. Now, Brother X, I'm sure we grew up in two different areas, but I'm gonna ask you, I'm gonna explain how we was miseducated and wasn't taught how to read, and see if they did the same thing to you in your school district. Okay, so we all took those placement tests since elementary school, right? We all took these tests, and the teachers told us, okay, boys and girls, we're gonna take this placement test. You color in A, B, C, and D. You're gonna have a certain amount of time to complete this test. Now, when it gets to like 10 minutes left, I'm gonna let you guys know, and you just have to put anything in, because if you answer the question, you get a 25% chance of getting it right. But if you don't answer, you get a 100% chance of getting it wrong. So I'm gonna let you know when the time comes, and I want you to just go through it. You know what I'm saying? So did you receive something like that whenever you just go all the way up to college? You know, we had to take these time placement tests. So whenever they told us, okay, that time is here, you have 10 minutes left, that automatically sent our little brains in a shock. So therefore, instead of them telling us, okay, boys and girls, I don't care how many you get right or wrong, I want you to understand what you read and what you answer. But instead, they chose to teach us at very young ages how to just rush through. So when they got to that stage, they sent our minds in a shock by saying, okay, that time limit. So our minds started to speed up, and we stopped reading. We started just glancing and just skimming. So therefore, we was trying to skim as fast as we can to put any type of answer down, just to complete the exam down. So we don't really understand what we're reading because we was taught to speed. So most people, they don't read, they just pronounce words, because once they read something, you put that down, say, okay, and now explain it in your own words. Most people can't do it. They got to read it again, see it again, and look up definition of words. So that's how we was systematically taught not to be able to read, but to just skim through.
Mm-hmm. Are you talking about those? Are you talking about those tests where you had to fill in the dots? It was like
exactly.
It was like A, B, C, D, and it was
those
like a little dot that you had to fill. Yes. I remember those.
And they timed it, and they told all of us that time is here, and that sent our little minds in shock. I remember taking those tests in like the 3rd and 4th grade, all the way up to high school. We take those tests, and they were all timed. So we knew that we had to rush because we had to beat the time. It's no way that we can understand something if we don't completely understand what we're reading. If we don't understand every word and the different meanings of those words, whether it's the definition when it's used as a verb, the definition when it's used as a noun, and it's the same word. So if we don't know all of these, and that's how they get us in court, because they use words, but we only know the one definition that they teach us in school, but they're using the 3rd or the 4th definition of the word, and that's how we misinterpret the legal. They call it legalese. So they teach us how not to read, how to speed read and skim, while they over there in school learning how to break down all of the words and definitions, and that's what we missed in school. We were just miseducated. So this is some of the things that we try to bring up to help the people really understand what's been missing.
Absolutely. Now check this out, Brother X. Now, I remember in the video, right, with Miss Dixon, I know that you all talked about excessive bail, right? Excessive bail in speedy trial. I wanted to point this out, and this is the importance of learning our Constitution. I gotta say this. I gotta put emphasis on this, because our Constitution under Article 6 is the supreme law of the land. They all swear, all your public officers swear in oath on their Constitution. You can hold them accordingly to that Constitution. They have a duty and obligation to follow it. They really do. Now, check this out. In the federal Constitution, right, under the 8th Amendment, the 8th Amendment deals with it deals with excessive bail. If an individual is dealing with excessive bail, they can petition the court to lower the bail. This is an 8th Amendment protection. Now, a right to a speedy trial falls under Amendment 6. You have a right to a speedy trial. But if you don't know your rights, right, if you don't raise it, you waive it. So you have to raise these issues, first of all. And the proper way to do it would be to petition the court. This is
well,
it's extremely important. Mhm.
is that why? Is that why? I don't mean to cut you off, but is that why there are so many brothers just kind of lagging in like the local jail, the town jail, the county jail? Because most of those people in there, I mean, I'm pretty sure not everybody. I mean, some people are probably, they're already sentenced on petty crimes, but
Right.
the majority of people in there aren't convicted of anything. They're just in there, waiting till whenever, because they're not being granted, a speedy trial. So they're just kind of lingering in the county jail or the city jail, waiting for the courts and the district attorney's office to, start dealing with their case, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you don't raise it, people gotta hear this. Seriously. If you don't raise it, you waive it. It's almost as if it doesn't exist. This is how the courts will treat you. This is why it's imperative that we know our rights. You can't sit back and wait and just depend on your attorney to know it. You can't. I'm telling you. How you gonna keep your attorney in check if you don't have working knowledge of what they supposed to know and do?
And
Yeah,
not only it is the federal constitution important, but maybe even more important is your state constitution.
Yes.
Read your state constitution and read your Declaration of Rights or your Bill of Rights within your state, and go down the list, recall your life, and see how many rights you left on the table. I'm gonna give you a prime example, like the state of Maryland. The state of Maryland, right, which is one of the reasons why I moved from state of Maryland, because they're like some of the they're just not the best who follow the Constitution. I'm just gonna leave it like that. But Maryland Constitution states that no one is to go to jail for a debt. You don't go to jail, no debt prisons. It says it in the Constitution. But if you go to Maryland court system, PG County, Montgomery County, and the other counties, and go inside the jail systems and count how many brothers are locked up for child support debt. Why aren't there public attorneys? Why aren't there attorneys telling them, hey, this Constitution say that we don't supposed to go to jail for a debt? They have to follow the Constitution. They took an oath. And at the end of their oath, it says, so help them God. That's what their oath say. You know what I'm saying? So they take an oath to the Constitution, but yet we don't know the Constitution in order to have the attorney enforce your rights. You know what I'm saying? You have a right for your attorney to be an assistant, especially in the criminal trial. So if he's your assistant, guess who is the lead? You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it. The Constitution is saying it. So if you have a right to assistance and counsel in the criminal trial, that means somebody got to lead. You know what I'm saying? But if you're not the lead, guess who's going to lead? The person who's getting a check from the government in order to defend you. Now, some of the state's attorneys are good. They're very good because they're up and coming. So some of them will work their tail off to try to get you off, but they're going to limit themselves if you don't keep them in check. And what Keith and I are saying, this is what we've done. This is what we do. Like, I've been to court and I told the judge through my paperwork, as a result of me driving 55 and 35 miles an hour zone, please tell me the injury that I caused this state. And if you can't find the injury you caused this state, you have to dismiss it. I get to court. Well, Mr. Graves, we're not going to prosecute this today. You don't have any objection, do you? No, sir. You have a great day. But it's a whole 200 people behind me that's sitting there going to pay a fine because they don't know that if they don't cause the injury or damage the property, that the state don't have standing to bring you there.
No standing.
So as a result of you driving 50 in the 30, who did you injure? They can't come in and say, well, if you drive too fast, you may hit somebody, or you almost. That's a hypothetical. I'm not saying the Supreme Court said it. So I'm not telling you something that I'm saying. Who the hell is Keith and Rodney? But what we are telling you, what the Constitution is saying, what the Supreme Court is saying, and these are the Supreme Court decisions. This is the supreme law of our land. So we just need to understand those laws so we can either defend ourselves or check an attorney, so all of us won't be behind bars and losing money simply because we just don't know. And the critical mass of us just don't know because we rely solely on attorneys without knowing some of the law ourselves. We have to know some of the law, and I think the main law to know is just the state constitution and your federal constitution. That's the highest law of the land, and you can care less about the 6 million laws come behind it. You can care less about about all the regulations, the rules, the codes. Because what I do whenever I see they try to bring me into court for something, I compare what they charge me with, and I bring out the Constitution, and I see whether or not they have authority to bring me in there. Other than that, I'm gonna send them some paperwork and say, "You guys have a nice day." Most of them comply. The reason state of Maryland don't comply the way that they ought to, but other jurisdictions do. DC comply sometimes. The Commonwealth of Virginia comply, because we're in the DMV area, so we have a three jurisdictional area. But the state of Maryland, with all of the black state actors in there, it's horrible. Just all the black judges, the black sheriffs, it's horrible the way they treat people that look like you and I. If you know the law, they depend on those who don't know in order to keep this illegitimate system afloat.
Absolutely.
Well,
Now,
I want to get into the different types of law, because there's about 3 or 4 types, right? There's executive law, there's criminal procedural law, and then there's penal law, right?
Well, all right, I was gonna say, how about I answer that? Generally, you have 2 types. You have criminal law and you have civil law.
Okay.
Either it's going to fall under criminal or civil. Now, the levels of law would be Constitution is at the top. See, what Rodney basically was explaining to everyone is that the Constitution governs all of the lower laws. So it goes from Constitution to acts of Congress, and I'm talking on the federal level, to U.S. codes. And then the executive department, they have what is called the administrative branch of government. It's the illegitimate 4th branch of government. But the executive branch actually issues policies and regulations. This is where you get I can't frame it that way, because executive orders is legitimate, but executive orders is not law, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
That is a part of the executive power, but it's more so policy. But law is enacted by your legislative branch of government, which on federal level, it would be Congress. In the state, it would be your state legislature or your General Assembly. That's what they call it here in the state of Maryland, the General Assembly. So Constitution, right, is always at the top. Now, federal level, federal Constitution. In your state, the state constitution is number 1. They all swear an oath to it. They have to follow it. And like Rodney said, it makes it a lot easier when you compare all of the lower laws to the Constitution. This is how you can catch them in different ways and have your case dismissed, in other words. So,
and I'm assuming that with this stuff that you brothers are talking about, and go ahead, man, and drop your link in the chat. I just modded your Power of Offense, channel up. So go ahead, drop the link to your channel and all that kind of stuff, so people know where to find you. I'm assuming what you brothers are talking about. You're talking about if you're representing yourself, right? I mean, you're not sitting back telling your attorney, "Look here, man, I was listening to the Power of Offense the other night, and they told me about this here." So, so this is if you're representing yourself, right?
Let me clear it up. Let me clear that way, because you don't represent yourself, right, or represent yourself, right? Most of the time they'll say, "Well, because I done been to court for other people. I'm not an attorney," right? So you can have an attorney and tell that, because don't you pay the attorney? How you gonna pay the attorney and then he don't do what you tell him? That's crazy.
Exactly.
How you gonna pay this person? You gonna sit there and say, "Well, I'm gonna use this United States code that's gonna get your ass in jail," and you gonna say, "I'm gonna use the Constitution that's gonna free me like a bird." And how he gonna tell you, "No, you can't use it, and you paying the money"? If you allow that, then let peace be still. You know what I'm saying? So the wording that we use, because one time a judge was let me explain a quick little reason why I even know the little bit of law I do know. because I wouldn't know what I know if it wasn't for the mortgage crisis, right? The mortgage crisis. I built houses, rehab. You know what I'm saying? So when that mortgage crisis came, it came and it swooped me up as if I was a bird wasn't sitting there. So when I lost the first property, I had an attorney, right? The attorney lost the house like in 6 months, right? I'm like, damn, all that money, I done lost the house and my money. I'm like, shit, this didn't work right. So at that point, I had another house in foreclosure. I had properties, and when that joint collapsed, I had projects going. So they started coming because I didn't have it to give them because everything started to inflate. So the second one came. I had to hire another attorney, but at that point, I started studying a little bit. I started studying, learning this, learning that. Started telling the attorney, I pay him his fee, but I'm telling him, look, this is what I learned. If you can't defeat what I'm saying, we have to go with it like this. Most attorneys don't like to use the law that we talk about because they're trying to protect their bar card. So you have to get past that. So that's why most attorneys, even though they talk a great, excellent game, if you really put them in position to really expose the disparities in the law, the disparities in Congress, in the Supreme Court, and all, you can really show really the BS in it, you know what I'm saying, through the laws that are on the books. So therefore, they feel as though you're only one client. I got to go before this judge many, many times. So I'm not going to deal with you. You know what I'm saying? Or you have to do it my way. That's why people say, well, I'm gonna let the lawyer handle. I said, how you gonna let the lawyer handle? You just lost your right to do A, B, C, and D. And I show them paperwork where it worked for me. So you can't go to court and say, well, I heard this on the Power of Offense. Keith Rodney was saying this. The judge gonna be like, well, Keith Rodney is not here. This is why we have to understand and read and apply it. We didn't notice it. Once we read it, we applied it. You know what I'm saying? So I understood the law, but after a while, you have to be able to understand it in real time. You have to understand the law when your rights are violated. Ain't no sense of you telling me all 10 of all the amendments, all of the Bill of Rights, but yet you can't apply it in real time. So once I started to apply it in real time, man, it became a mess. You either gonna violate my rights or you're gonna let me go. It ain't no way in between. You know what I'm saying? So one of the foreclosures I was in, I had my sister, because I put the properties in my sister's name and other people's names. So I had to try to get in there to defend because I was studying. So I wrote up a contract. One of the provisions in the Constitution say there's no law that the state or anybody can make to stop the obligation of a contract, right? So if you do a contract, that's the law. Within the four corners of that document, that's the law. They can't make no law to abridge it. Unless
that's Article 1, Section 10. I'm just plugging it. Article 1, Section 10 of the Federal Constitution.
Yeah. So when you have a contract, they can't make a law to say, well, this contract is no good unless it's a contract to kill somebody or a contract to damage something crazy. But anything other than that, you have a right to contract unlimited. So my sister was living in Atlanta. The property was in DC. Now I got tired of keep having her come back and forth. So I had my contract in place, and I sent it to the judge. I put it in the judge. I say, my sister won't be coming anymore. I have an interest in this thing right here. We're gonna keep it moving. So I'm saying it in regular terms, but I put it in legalese and gave it to them. So when I get to court, the judge look at the paperwork, flipping through it. She said, well, you can't represent your sister. This contract is deficient. I said, well, Your Honor, I'm not trying to represent my sister. That's not what the contract say. I'm speaking on my sister's behalf, and that's the key. You speak on their behalf, you don't represent them. It's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So then when I told the judge up, my sister never came back to another court hearing or case because my contract was in place. The Constitution protected it, and she had a duty to abide by it, although she tried to trick me out of it. Now, they're going to see whether or not I'm watching YouTube or I'm learning stuff from what somebody telling me, or they're going to try me on what I know, what I study, with the case law I read, the law that I read. And so once they realize that you know it, and they're going to try you. She tried me. Well, this contract is deficient. Well, explain to me where it's deficient, because I'm not representing her. I'm speaking on and acting on her behalf. And that's why I don't use representing. Because what they do, they represent you to the court because they say, well, this person don't know who he is, so we're going to represent him as an idiot. That's why they say, don't say anything, speak to your attorney.
Yep. And see, what Rodney is pointing out is language, brother Xavier. It's language. Now, to represent and to speak on the behalf generally means the same thing, but it's perceived as different according to the court. So your language have to be correct also. It's just like whenever you, if you choose, right, to operate on your own behalf, you have to understand not just substance. Now, substance is what the law is saying, but you also need to know procedures. See, procedures is very important also. You got to understand how to write your briefs, how to petition, how to counter. All see, so it, in my opinion, it's not complicated, but it can be challenging, and it does take time. Like, say it again, Rodney.
It's tedious.
Yes, it's tedious, and of course, it takes time. It's like anything else; it takes time to learn. But I'm like, again, as a group of people, right? As a group of people that's always talking about how we're discriminated against, how we mistreated in this country, it behooves all of us to learn the laws of this land, American jurisprudence. It behooves us. Now, I'm gonna give you an example.
Go ahead.
No, because I wanted to point this out. So I've been taking notes. One of the things I heard Miss Ronda Dixon say also is that there's representation. It should be representation on the bench. She made a statement similar to that. And my thing is this: there's no representation on the bench because the bench, right, being the judge is not a part of the representative branches of government. Now, the representative branches of government is your legislative branch and your executive branch. The judicial branch is independent. The judges are supposed to be impartial and unbiased. It has nothing to do with being liberal or conservative. I can't stand when I see this stuff in the news outlets, y'all, where they say he's a conservative judge or he's a liberal judge. I'm like, a judge is supposed to be independent. They deal with the law, and it's supposed to be unbiased and impartial.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, don't they lay that label on these jurists because of who put them on the bench, right? That's why they get that particular label, because it's either a Republican or a Democrat who places them there, especially federal judges, because they're sat in their seats by the president. So, right, that's why they get that label for the most part, and also based on whatever cases they've had before them, how they ruled in the past. So that's what labels them either conservative or liberal or whatever, right?
Right. And a lot of times they will use their I guess their political gestures, just like they say if it's a liberal or conservative judge, right? What attorneys do and judges do, like, it's so much case law there, and I didn't realize this until a lawyer pointed it out to me. Like the first house that I lost in the foreclosure, that attorney felt bad that he lost it for me. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. He lost it, so I used to go to his office on K Street, Washington D.C. Northwest, that rich area down there, and we used to talk about law, right? He schooled me just after I done finished with him, and I was just going on doing it. I would call him and ask him questions, spend an hour and pay him. He didn't do it for free. I paid him his fee because that's what he was teaching. You know what I'm saying? So one time he said, "Well, Rodney, I'm gonna tell you something. A judge, although he's supposed to be impartial and unbiased, one of the main reasons why you're saying that they're liberal and conservative is because it's so much case law out there that whichever way they want to rule, they will tell their clerk, go find case law to support my position. Like most case law can go either way. Whenever case law is quoted in court, they only quote like little sentences or little paragraphs. That's why it's very important to read the whole entire case, because just like they use a sentence or two against you, if you read that case law, you'll probably find a sentence or two against them. You know what I'm saying? So it all depends on what they see in that particular case. They will cherry pick it. They'll cherry pick it, put it in their brief, and they'll ride it till the dogs go home. You know what I'm saying? And that's all they need, is something to support their position. And the whole rest of the case law can be totally against them. but they can pull that one little piece out, quote it, put it inside there, and they don't turn the whole thing around. That's what label, and they do it based on their discretion, based on how they was raised, based on their ideological thinking, on based on whether it's conservative, liberal, or the like.
That's true. But hey, Rodney, we got to throw this
And
out
it's
there.
crazy.
Within the judges' canons, because they have canons,
Yeah.
under their ethics, they're supposed to be impartial and unbiased, and we have to hold them to that.
Absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely. Not only that, it's in the Constitution. It's in the Constitution, and it's in the Code of Ethics, and it's in the oath. All of it is right there. You know, so we just have to hold them to it. We have to we have law, right? We study so much law that we have a law that is just as equivalent to the Constitution is to the country. We have the same law that can protect Black folks, specifically for those from indentured servants and slaves. But our lawyers and attorneys don't know this law, right? Because they know bits and pieces that was taken from the statutes of law, which is the law enacted by Congress, and they take bits and pieces out of it. They cherry pick and they create the United States Code. Most of us are familiar with United States Code. If you ever get charged or you ever deal with the United States Code, you need to take that code that you're dealing with and track it to the statutes of laws, and I guarantee you'll almost find some remedy there. You know, because they take bits and pieces that negatively affects us, and they teach that to the attorneys. So that's all the attorneys know is Title 42, 1981, Title 42, all these Civil Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act of 1965. All that is BS. It'll get you triple, and that's why qualified immunity exists. Because you're riding on the Civil Rights Act of 1965, and you're riding on the United States Code, and that's why immunity smacked you right in your face. These other laws, immunity is bulletproof; it bounces off. But the attorneys don't know this law. How do I know? Because I asked them. I said, "Hey,
Rodney,
particular law," and the answer is no.
I'm glad you brought up the NCX. That's one thing I had on the list too. Now I heard Rhonda say that the Civil Rights Act of 1965 is what gave Black people the right to vote. That is totally incorrect. Our right to vote came under the 15th Amendment, 1870. Black men had the right to vote since 1870.
So she was wrong on that one.
She was dead wrong on that one.
And I can even take it back damn near 100 years before that, which is 1866. That was right after the Civil War. That's when the United States was unconscious, and they put all the laws in place to protect those coming out of slavery and indentured service. And then they hid the law. Most attorneys don't know the law whenever I give it to them in this form that's hidden in the Library of Congress. This is the law right here. You see that gold seal? That gold seal implicates Article 4 of the Constitution, full faith and credit. I could take this in any court and use it. They hate it when I do it, and they try to run me up out of there. You know what I'm saying? But this is the law. This is the Civil Rights Act right here of 1866. Absolutely. The Civil Rights Act of 1965 will get you where it got us, which is nowhere. This law right here is from it.
So when we go to court, say, I don't know, we got locked up or something. I don't know, something. And you're standing in there with your lawyer. Are we at a disadvantage? Because number one, a lot of these laws, no one knows about, especially our lawyer who's standing next to us. He doesn't know about it. Or is it that these laws are known by whether it be the prosecutor, the district attorney, and the judge, but they're just hoping that you don't? Bingo. Is it and or both? Is it one or the other?
Both.
What?
It's both.
Both.
I would say, now I'm gonna tell you about the laws. They practice on what's that term? Plausible deniability, right? Mm-hmm. Plausible deniability means that they will fight tooth and nail because they really don't know. Like most attorneys don't know, many of them do. Most judges know, many of them don't. You see what I'm saying? The ones who don't, they subconsciously will fight you tooth and nail. I done had lawyers in there fight me tooth and nail because they just don't know.
And
So
they can't stand to be wrong.
exactly.
That's another thing.
So if your subconscious
Yeah.
know that these laws and stuff, all this stuff really exists, many people can't compete with that. So that's why they intentionally don't teach many lawyers. You have to get to a certain level to really understand the fraud of the United States and the fraud of the United States of America that they're really hiding from us. That's a deep,
hey, Rod,
deep
that we
conversation
have
have to be ready for right here.
that we have like 3 United States in operation at one point, you know, at one time.
Absolutely.
3 of them operating.
Absolutely. But
The
they
fact
think
that people don't understand they have a registered organization on their birth certificate. Oh, it's a brother X. It's a lot of stuff we can go into, and we can prove it. So we don't just talk about it. We can prove what we're talking about.
So, is there any way that, besides coming to the Power Offense channel, which I'm putting in the chat right now, by the way, get on down there and hit my folks up. Is there any way that people can learn this stuff? Like if a brother's sitting here watching this right now and he's like, yeah, all this sounds great, but where do I go to learn this stuff? Or can they only learn it from your channel? What would you tell the brothers?
Well, you can learn it.
I would
It's
say
not
both.
just from our channel because the law
right.
is public law. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But the way that we learn, it's like a puzzle. You know what I'm saying? And it's a puzzle that it's like a roadmap almost to commercial freedom. You know what I'm saying? Whether they honor it or not is a different story. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. You have good within the bad within the system of racism and white supremacy and those who support it. Those who support that system look like you and I, which is why one of the reasons why it's so hard for us to really overcome, because we have too many people that look like us that are selling us out for meritorious manumissions.
That's
you know
why I
what I'm
don't
saying?
do identity politics for that
Yeah,
very reason.
there's too much of that going on. I done been in front of black judges that hammered me. You know, I've been down the South in Virginia, and I give them the same story about they don't have standing, and it's all white folks in there, white judge, white prosecutor, everything. I give them my paperwork. They tell me they he in the harm, but they say we're not prosecuting. You have to go. I get
Absolutely.
to Maryland. A judge look like me. The bailiff look like me. Everybody in there look like me. She gonna give me her ass to kiss and say, "Well, we're gonna move forward with everybody in here," knowing what she's doing is wrong.
With a black
That
judges,
doesn't stop me
black
from
sheriff,
enforcing my rights. That doesn't stop
county
me from
executive
enforcing my
black.
rights. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
you have to enforce your rights.
Let's not get into who causes the most harm to black folks, boy, because I can tell y'all some horror stories. Goddamn it.
I'm just stating the point that we can't predetermine based on identity who want right and who want wrong. We have to go with the character of who they are, because you will have some folks that don't look like us that hate this system as much as we do, and you have people that look like us that love this system, that benefit from this system and have been doing it for generations and would do anything to keep it.
Yeah, you'll be amazed at who would help you along the way.
You would be amazed who would exactly. So we used to teach, help show people deeper years ago. We really just getting back into this arena, but we've been battling ever since. You know what I'm saying? And we have a lot of experience. We have found a lot of things, and anyone that's interested, we have to know what their interests are, what they need to know. We can give them a plethora of things to learn, study, how to read, how to. I'm just learning how to read, and I've been to the University of Maryland, and reading is hard. You understand what I'm telling you?
Right.
Sometimes it take me 2 hours to get through a paragraph because I'm looking up every word. You know what I'm saying? When you look up a word, we are taught to look up the definition, But I'm gonna tell you how the Grandmaster Sorrows and the Rhodes Scholars look at words. They don't look at the definition first. They look at the etymology. They look at just a noun, verb, adjective. They look at where the word come from. They look at how many senses of the words it is. And then after they do all that studying and researching, and then they go back and start looking at the definition. So they can have a full understanding of how they're confusing you.
Well, hey, Rodney, and that brings to my thought the word person. Like a lot of people don't understand that a word person that we all use every single day don't just mean a natural person, meaning a flesh and blood human such as us, all three of us that's on the show, right? A person is also a corporate entity. Now, this entity can be a corporation, it can be a trust, it can be an estate, it can even be a nonprofit organization, right? Even an NGO. All of those are persons. So in most cases, when they talk in person, they could be talking about any of those. You got to be very specific when you're dealing with these people. Law is specific, y'all.
The law is specific, and it takes no prisoners. You have to be specific, and if you understand the words that they're trying to use against you, they can't trick you like that. They try to bully you, they try to trick you, but we have to stand firm with the universe, because it's the universe. We make the universe go round. You know what I'm saying? They are mutations of us. We're not mutations of them. You can't take white and get black from it. You can't take yellow and get black from it. You can't take brown and get black from it. But you can get all those colors from black. So we have to know who are the mutations and who are the mutated. So therefore, we can proceed and understand that even though they try to oppress, that it can't stop us. We can't give in. You know what I'm saying? No matter what. One of the famous Boulets I know said this statement. He said that we all heard. He said, if you don't have something in your life worth living for, worth dying for, you're not fit to live. You have to have something principally outside your family worth dying for, or you're not fit to live. That's the quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. You see what I'm saying? So he was more than just a dream. You know, you go into some of the work that he did that got him knocked off in Memphis, Tennessee. And it wasn't because he had a dream. Only.
Well, let me ask you brothers this. Go ahead. You got it.
Well, I was going to ask you if I can answer this question that just.
Oh, absolutely. Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Now, Black's Law Dictionary is an excellent dictionary. All right. Now, it really depends on what type of law you're looking at. Now, if you're dealing with statutes, codes, I would say anything that's on the books today, then I would use a Black's Law like 9th edition. 9th edition is sound about right. Now, if you're dealing with Constitution, right, because our Constitution is from 1789, right, I would use the 1856 John Bouvier's Law Dictionary. Now, prior to the early, I want to say 1930s, the federal Supreme Court used to only use John Bouvier's Law Dictionary. Now, that law dictionary is an encyclopedia. It is much better than Black's Law Dictionary because it goes fully in depth in what all the words mean. Matter of fact, Black's Law Dictionary is a derivative of Bouvier's Law Dictionary. Like Bouvier's Law Dictionary is a derivative of Blackstone Commentaries. Now, Blackstone Commentaries is from England. Now, a lot of people don't know, but here in American jurisprudence, we're under the English common law. A lot of people don't know that, though. So our judicial system does follow elements of the English common law. All right.
And just to prove what Keith's saying, again, in the state of Maryland Constitution, right, it says that we can use the common law of England.
Yep.
That means Magna Carta, right to travel. I'm not saying it. You said. You know what I'm saying? So we need to read our state constitution to see how many rights have we been leaving on the table.
Exactly.
All because we've been staring, just like the back whenever they passed those housing discriminatory laws where if a white folks was selling their house, they wouldn't even advertise, putting a sign in their yard that they would do it discreetly. It's the same thing, and they will steer you to a neighborhood that they feel as though that you ought to be in. That's what they're doing with the law. They steering us to attorneys who they train to mislead.
Absolutely.
It's not the attorney's fault. You know what I'm saying? So we're not bashing any attorneys, because all of them that I know are brilliant minds. I love to talk to them. They know their craft. but they was miseducated like everybody else because they was trained by the system of racism and white supremacy. We have to understand that first, period.
Hey, Rodney,
if we don't understand that one point, Keith and I are wasting our time.
Absolutely. And you just check this out, brother X. Rodney just reminded me of something, man, a story. At one point in time, right, I was driving part-time for Uber and Lyft. And I remember I picked up, and I didn't even know who I was talking to at first. The interesting thing about driving around the District of Columbia, right, you never know who you're going to pick up. Because one time I picked up, what the hell was his name?
Ben Bernanke.
Was Ben Bernanke. Yeah, that was a fun ride. I picked up Ben Bernanke, right? He was the head of the Fed under the Barack Obama administration. And he was shocked I knew who he was, man. I was in there asking him questions, but he's not even the one that I'm talking about. I actually picked up a federal judge one time. She worked for the United States Federal Court of Claims. Yeah. And I don't know how the hell we got in the conversation we did, but the lady was so amazed at what I knew. She got excited. She actually gave me her contact information and told me if I ever decided to go to law school, that she'd write me a letter of recommendation. She couldn't believe that a layman understood what I understood.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask you brothers this, because we have criminal law and we have civil law, right?
Right.
When it comes to criminal law, the people have to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. In civil law, it's not that way. It's preponderance of the evidence, right? So does that mean that your knowledge of the law do you have to change the standards of your knowledge of the law depending on whether or not you're in a criminal proceeding or a civil proceeding? Or should your knowledge of the law should you be fluid in both things? Because
it should be.
You may not necessarily find yourself in a criminal court, but you may find yourself in a civil court. So explain that to the folks.
All right, I want to start, Rodney. I want to start. It should be vast. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I'm going to use an example. The Bill Cosby case, right? Bill Cosby case. All of us know what happened, right? Well, I think most of us do, but I'm going to paraphrase it. Now, the Bill Cosby case, right? Bill Cosby was being sued civilly, and he had some interrogatories that was presented to him by the other side where they wanted him to answer certain questions. Now, one of the questions went something like, did you give my client basically any type of medicine that she didn't want or that she didn't ask for? Well, Bill Cosby answered the question. He answered the question. He basically said something to the effect that he gave her Benadryl. Well, he had an agreement with the state's attorney that they were not going to press criminal charges against him. Now, it was a verbal agreement. Verbal, y'all. So it wasn't in writing. Well, once the new state's attorney was elected into office, they decided they was going to bring criminal charges against him, and they used his statements in that interrogatory as evidence to basically find him guilty of the crimes that they found him guilty of. Well, the point is this: your Fifth Amendment right, not to incriminate yourself, or like I like to say, to preserve your innocence, applies for criminal as well as civil. It applies anytime, formal or informal. These people can just come and just talk to you on the fly, and they can tell you, I'm not arresting you. It's nothing serious, but I just want to ask you a couple questions. You can still plead the fifth is the point. It can be in their office. It can be at your home. It could be anywhere. It's case law on this.
And that's because anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. Bill Cosby had an excellent lawyer. And you remember Bill Cosby was tried twice, right? Yep. The first case, the first time he was tried, they couldn't convict him. He had a woman attorney judge, and she stood on, one of the things she stood on was his Fifth Amendment right not to incriminate herself, right? Because the fact that they used the fact that he admitted to giving the young lady Benadryl, right? That was a civil matter. They used that civil matter in a criminal case. The Fifth Amendment protects that in the civil matters is what Keith's saying. Because if it's a civil matter and you answer the question and that question can be converted to a criminal act, the Fifth Amendment applies. You know what I'm saying? But in a civil case and it's straight civil, you can't use the Fifth Amendment because it's not a criminal case unless what you answer can result in criminal charges, like Bill Cosby did. Bill Cosby. So whenever Bill Cosby had that strong system attorney, and then when they brought him back, I don't know how they got that attorney off, and all of a sudden they allowed this information to come to his trial, which is why he's in the penalty box now. So all them dollar bills that he got, he didn't have any sense. He didn't have enough sense to stand on his Fifth Amendment rights and could have checked all those attorneys that he was paying those millions of dollars to. And say, hold up. I said that in a civil case, my Fifth Amendment applies, so therefore you can't use it against me in the criminal matter. That's what he could have used on his appellate court, on his appellate case. That's a constitutional issue. Does the Fifth Amendment apply whenever you confess it, whenever you say something civilly? Can they use it against you criminally and you uphold your Fifth Amendment? Now, if he didn't raise it, he waived it. But if you raise that Fifth Amendment, it would have protected him. So he either didn't raise it, and in addition to he didn't have that attorney who was raising those proper issues, he had a double attorney that let that case come through and did not raise his Fifth Amendment protections. And that's one of the main reasons why he's in the penalty box. All because
he paid all the millions. He could have paid us.
So
he could have dropped that on the power of offense, huh?
There you go.
You know what I'm saying?
We're not saying that the Constitution said.
Absolutely.
Reed said it. So don't go talking about what Keith and Radley told me for the power and offense. They're gonna say, "Excuse me, your name is a Billy Bob." You know what I'm saying. So if you don't know it and you can't stand on it, it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be virtually impossible to say what you heard on the internet and all that stuff. And one of the ways that they really, because they challenge people, because I've done things in the Supreme Court of Maryland, right? I issued bonds and foreclosure cases on an appellate level, and I told somebody else how to do the exact same thing. This is why I learned. I gave her the exact paper, everything that I did. She did the exact same thing, sent it to the same people I sent it to. They mailed her back and said, if you send something like this again to our office, we're going to come press charges on you. But what they told me, they said, sir, your case is over. We no longer need this. Take this back. And that's all because they knew that I know it, that I can stand on it, that I can defend it. And they knew that she couldn't. How did they determine that? I only guess, Keith and I said, they must monitor what you watch on the internet. So they see people listening to radio shows or Googling stuff on the internet versus somebody like Keith and I who's going into these law dictionaries, who's reading this case law. They see us many thousands of hours in the law library, at the Library of Congress, at the National Archives, getting the laws, reading them. They see us going to court defending our rights, and people looking at us like we crazy because 200 people inside the court ready to say guilty, and I'm sitting there like, who are you talking to? Are you talking to me or are you talking to it? You know what I'm saying? As he doing all this, he showed me where the state of Maryland, the Commonwealth of Virginia suffered an injury. Y'all Supreme Court says this.
Yep.
And you even gonna honor it. I can't make you honor it, and if you don't honor it, I know what the universe gonna do. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So we are universal beings. You know, we can't beat this system in the physical war, but we can destroy them in the spiritual war, which will ultimately beat them in the physical war, because that's how they got it from us. Because we ran the planet, as we all know.
Yep, and that it is the registered organization that Rodney is referencing. Now, Brother X, that's a whole nother subject right there. That's a lot to that.
Okay. All right.
But everybody
let's
has
get into it. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. I want to hear it.
Well, I'm trying to think of the easiest way to sum that up, Rodney.
That's
it. You know?
That's a lot to get into, brother. We got to talk about that online.
That's probably should be a whole other show.
That's something that we really wanted. We was going to bring in Judge Joe Brown on our show because Judge Joe Brown talks at such a high level of legal leads. I heard him say several times he talked specifically about what we're talking about, but he says it at such a high level of legal leads, those who are interviewing him don't know the next question to ask. But what Judge Brown said, I'm gonna tell you what he said, but I'm gonna leave it right there. Judge Joe Brown said, you don't own nothing in the United States. right? Nobody know what that means. He
He's
said, you don't
100%
own
correct.
nothing in the United, and he's absolutely right. You don't own shit in the United States. But we all think we do, and that's fraud. But we'll talk about that another one though. But there's plenty of other law that we can start, to get people to understand and understand it, just to deal with society. You know what I'm saying? To understand that we don't live in a democracy, but they're trying to trick us into democracy, that we were guaranteed a republic form of government per the Constitution. You know what I'm saying? Democracy is not what we want to be in, although we get all of the state actors, the politicians, the lawyers and attorneys speaking about democracy, but you can't find the word democracy in our state constitution. I give anybody $5,000 that can find it. If you find the word democracy, form of government, or democracy, period, in our constitution, the federal constitution, you will win that prize. So what do they keep talking about a democracy? What is a democracy? You know what I'm saying? Versus a republic form of government that's guaranteed in the Constitution. Why are we being pushed toward democracy?
I'm glad you said that, Rodney, because Brother X, I meant to tell you what part of the Constitution that we're referencing is Article 4, Section 4 of the Federal Constitution. We're guaranteed a Republican form of government. We have a republic. The founding fathers of this country have all stated that we have a republic. The main writer, James Madison, made it very clear over and over that they established a republic for us. It's not a democracy. Democracies do not work. They fail. And matter of fact, democracy leads to socialism, because the first stage of communism is a democratic revolution. The next stage will be socialistic revolution, and then it leads to communism. But that, again, that it's a lot to that.
Yeah, and
people need to know that.
All this stuff is
that where we're headed?
That's
is that where we're headed in this country?
It definitely seems that way.
Yeah.
It definitely does.
I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of brothers who are in jail, who are in prison, who probably, if they knew some of this stuff, may not possibly be there. So let's talk about some civil cases. Are there civil cases that you brothers have seen where a law that could have been applied to someone's case that would have helped them, it wasn't used? They disregarded it. Their lawyer didn't know it, or whatever the case may be. They hadn't watched y'all's show, so they didn't know about it, and they didn't use it. Have you ever seen that in civil case? I know it's probably millions of those cases in criminal courts, but what about the civil courts?
Absolutely. I mean, it's all based in, if you don't raise it, you waive it. Some attorneys just want the easy way out. So if they see they can get an easy check by not bringing up certain laws, or some of them just don't even know certain laws whenever they're representing you to the court, then you won't have the protections needed. Now, we could take a lot of the whenever lawyers try to sue the states and government for a murder, is it like almost like the Trayvon Martin case? What's that guy Crump was? He was trying to prosecute. Was he prosecuting to get money from the guy, or was he prosecuting to try to lock him up? Do you remember which one it was?
Well, I think he was lobbying, and he loses all the time. Everybody he represents comes up short. I don't even know why they picked this guy. I think he's an ambulance chaser, but that's another topic for another time. And whoever he's represented, they came up short. The people either don't get convicted. I don't know if he freaking gets the people any type of money. So it's like, why do I keep seeing this guy whenever a black person is shot? Why is the only lawyer I ever see is Ben Crump? Well, why? I'm still trying to figure that one out. Why is he the one I always see? I mean, he seems to have come up short. He's like a 5, and he's like a 0 for 5 at this point.
Yeah, 0 for Winfrey. Yeah. He's like 0 for. So if to me, that's the hidden hand. That's the system. You know what I'm saying? That's the system in full-fledged, where you have someone look like us, dark, and all three of us put together, right?
Yeah.
So you would think that he would have our best interest at hand, right? So the main law that they was talking about with Trayvon Martin was the stand your ground law, right?
Mm-hmm.
They said that he had a right to stand his ground because the young boy whooped him. You know what I'm saying? The young boy whooped him after he was told not to chase him. He chased him down anyway. He jumped on the young boy. Young boy whooped him. He said, "Man, I can't take this whooping," and he murdered him, right? And he said, "Well, I stood my ground," and that's how he won the case. Crump, he went and defended the stand your ground case, right? He says the stand your ground. He tried to defend it, but to me, and Keefe didn't defend it properly because stand your ground is a Florida state law, right? Of stand your ground. And we all know that the organic law of the United States of America is the Declaration of Independence combined with the Constitution. You can't use the Declaration of Independence without the Constitution. The Declaration of Independence is just what it is. It's a declaration. They declared this, that all men was created equal and that we was guaranteed unalienable rights, not unalienable. The key word in that phrase is lien, L-I-E-N, lien, unalienable. You ever had a tax lien or a house lien? That means it's the cumbrance to stop you from doing something. So if you have unalienable rights to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, most people don't know what that means, right? So Trayvon Martin had the right given to him by his creator, unalienable right, meaning that you can't put nothing against his right to his life. So that makes the stand your ground law unconstitutional if he were to constitutionally challenge that law, that state law. That's a state law. You see what I'm saying? His constitutional protections are far beyond the Florida state law. So he can stand his ground, but Trayvon Martin has an unalienable right to his life per the Constitution. You see what I'm saying? So what are they doing in the court talking about stand your ground? At what point did Crump bring in his constitution? Because you don't have constitutional rights. The Constitution is written on hemp paper. A paper don't give you rights. The Declaration of Independence tell you that you were endowed by your rights. You were endowed with unalienable rights by your creator. That's where your rights come from. The Constitution protects those rights. So you have constitutional protected rights. When a judge hears you say you got constitutional rights, you'll know what you're talking about. Because the Constitution is only a piece of paper. It doesn't give you anything but a headache if you don't know what it is. It gives you protections for your God-given rights, your birthrights. That piece of paper protects those rights. And that's the argument that he should have made.
Now, I want to say this too. Because the dead man can't tell no stories. Now, if you are caught in a situation like that, because every state has some form of stand your ground law. Now, here in the state of Maryland, they have where you're supposed to retreat first. If you can, you got to try to retreat. If you can't get away, then you had the right to stand your ground. But beyond that, you have some states like Florida. I know Tennessee is one of them. They have full-fledged stand your ground. Now, that is a self-defense law when you're out and about. Now, with your home, right, or wherever you live, your apartment, wherever, that is the castle doctrine. They're different. Both of them deal with you protecting your person, right, and your property, but they're different. Now, again, stand your ground, because some people can end up in a situation like that. You got to understand the laws of your state and how your state determines stand your ground, because that is a defense that can be used. I agree with Rodney and what Rodney said, but it is a defense that can be used if you know how to use it. And then if you do use it, I would make sure I lay them down, because again, the dead man can't tell no stories. So they got to go off of what you say, especially if there's no videotape. I'm just saying.
Yeah, dead men tell no tales. So somebody else tells their story. They don't get to tell it.
Exactly.
But in the Trayvon Martin case, they had the recording. So
they had the audio. They had
the audio.
Yeah.
They even had the police officer said, the 911 person said, well, don't chase him. That should have pierced his right to stand your ground because he disobeyed a state official.
These
arguments up.
Great point.
You see what I'm saying? They said, well, don't chase him. He chased him anyway, tackled him, whooped him, got whooped, and then murdered him. That
Yep.
should have pierced, like to pierce the corporate veil
Yep.
when you violate the terms of your corporation. He violated, in my opinion, the terms of the standard ground law, but not listening to the state official when she said keep your ass still.
I agree.
He
And
still
Benjamin
aggressive
Crump dropped the
and
ball.
did his thing. So what is Crump doing? Crump is a chump to me.
Yeah, he dropped the
Yeah.
ball. I agree.
I told my wife, if I'm ever shot by the police, please do not hire Ben Crump. Please do not hire Crump. You're going to lose. Whatever you're trying to do will be unsuccessful if you hire this guy. And if something happens to me and he show up at our damn door, sick the damn dog on him. That's what I think the problem is. I think a lot of times, especially in these, you know, when the cop kills someone, I don't think the family really know. I don't think the families really realize what their rights are, which is why they hire, you know, a Crump. Because you would imagine that, you know, this guy's a lawyer. All right. He did graduate law school. He passed the bar. So at the very least, he's going to know enough to, if not apply pressure to the district attorney or the state attorney or who's ever quote unquote charged with the case, he could at least make the public appeal, you know, and bring it to the people, and that may pressure the state attorney's office or the district attorney's office or the county attorney's office. And a lot of these lawyers that represent these families who have had someone killed, these lawyers, I don't think a lot of them, I mean, some do. I'm not going to say they all, because I've seen some things take place over the last, say, 2 years that lead me to believe that things may be getting about, I don't know if you can see that, but about that much better as far as, you know, accountability goes, you know, with the police, because I have seen a few of them locked up. But what I'm saying is, you see these lawyers, and it's almost as if they're not really doing what these people want them to do. And what that makes me believe is that they're only there for the civil part of it. They're only there for, you know, if they happen to sue the state, sue the city, sue the county, you know, because they're going to get a big old check. But if you're the lawyer, if you're the attorney for this family, especially if you're in front of the cameras being the spokesman, shouldn't these attorneys also be at that freaking district attorney's office, at the county attorney's office, you know, bringing the, you know, speaking truth to power on these families' behalf as well, as opposed to just sticking around for the civil part of the case so they can get a check?
I totally agree with everything that you're
I do
saying.
too.
And one of the things that hurt us most is because we, the people, are misinformed, unintelligent, and miseducated, right? So we don't know to ask the questions that you're asking. We've been conditioned, right, to go to those who were learned in law, but we didn't know who taught them the law. You know what I'm saying? That's the system,
Absolutely.
the same system that raped, murdered, and killed our ancestors. That's their ancestors. So they have to keep this system going. So if they can keep the system going, that's why they say now the slavery today is just as bad, if not worse, than the physical slave of yesterday. This mental slavery that we're in today is more disastrous because we think we're free with just a little bit of issues. You know, so we don't know that there's a hidden hand, a whole system behind playing the puppet, and they're using people to look like us to convince us that we don't know what our hearts and spirits are telling us. You feel what I'm saying? And it starts, if you have people who are, if you don't know, right, how the simple, you know, the Constitution, all this stuff used to be taught in school, right, where we knew the law. Keith mentioned earlier that after the 1930s, they stopped using the John Bouvier dictionary and started using Black's law. And then now we have to start following, like when you mentioned criminal procedure, you have civil procedure books. I have all these books right here: criminal procedure, Although I haven't been,
George.
but I studied them anyway. The civil procedure, you have all these procedures, all these rules that you have to follow, right? That's when they implemented the attorney. You know what I'm saying? It was a time before 1938 where all you need to start a case was an affidavit, right? You start an affidavit, say, hey, X did something to me, put the affidavit in. You come in there, you get people right off the street that's in the community, and they try it right there. You know what I'm saying? But that wasn't profitable, right?
Yeah, now you have all these rules.
Yeah, because the people
rules.
right. So you couldn't trick the people or get them off their square because they knew what the Constitution said, that it was taught in school before you went to the next grade. They knew civics. They knew how the government worked, right? Mm-hmm. And then whenever they instrumented all of these rules and regulations, the federal rules of civil procedure, all that stuff came out in the 1930s. You know what I'm saying? And then they start sending people to school to learn all these rules and regulations, would make it hard for the average layman to even present themselves to court because they can't follow all these. You know how many cases I lost because I didn't have the right rules, despite how much I was injured. You know what I'm saying? They let a rule lose everything that you have because you don't follow a rule. Although you have the evidence, the case, the facts, the injury, everything on your side because you ain't follow Rule 1, Section 2, Clause 5. What the hell is that? And you injured. You feel what I'm saying? So now they have these.
And then, hey, Rodney.
Huh?
No, I was gonna say then you got to make it past the 12B6. Failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. You got to make it past that.
Exactly. So they have all these rules in place. So all these rules keep us from really, because it really can be depressing, really having to understand all these rules. But we have to do it. We can't solely rely on those who don't have our best interests at hand. That's why we lose it, because we just can't check them. Bill Cosby couldn't check them. Trayvon Martin, people couldn't check them. So if you can't check the attorney that sometimes just don't know they're doing you wrong because they wasn't taught the right way. They wasn't taught to implement the laws to protect you. They taught to use these laws that they can easily get around. It depends on the discretion. It depends. Have you ever been to court? And I've been to court and I heard an attorney say, Your Honor, may I be excused? I'm looking at, what are you talking about? Is that your parent? You know, what do you mean? Can you be excused from the court whenever that's crazy. But we have to understand that the prosecutor, that your defense attorney that you paying, or the one that's free, and the judge all have an affirmative. You know what I'm saying? They're all part of the same club. It's called the Bar Association, right? They take an oath to that too, as well as the Constitution. They're all in the same club. So how are we going to get remedy when they're all in the same club? You know,
absolutely.
That's all this extra stuff, these extra bars. This stuff is just crazy. But I think the first thing we have to understand what's going on. We can get the people on our side. It all starts with elections. We start this understanding. You know, because to me, I can prove why do you think whenever they impeached Donald Trump? Remember they impeached Donald Trump the first time? They impeached him for all whatever they was impeached for. Why didn't they? Why wasn't part of the articles of impeachment was him violating the emoluments clause of the Constitution? That means profiting off the office. He profited off the office the first day whenever he took his swore office, when he had that building down there on 12th Street that he's renting from the government, turned it into Trump Plaza, and had all those dignitaries come in paying multiple thousands of dollars on the night of his inauguration. That's profiting off the office. When his daughter got the merchandise contract with China, that's profiting off the office. But yet they did not bring that charge there. You know, that wasn't part of the articles of impeachment. The question has to be why, because they know Trump would have told on all of them, because all of them profit from the office. You see what I'm saying? But we don't know that. You know what I'm saying? So the Congress is supposed to make laws and regulate commerce, as the Constitution say, for the benefit of the people, right? But why do we have lobbyists paying directly to the people? Like, I used to drive Uber as well, and I used to have people in my car that was able to call the senators on their cell phone. You see what I'm saying? So who are they representing? Are they representing the people, or are they representing the lobbyists? Back in the 40s and the 50s, when the middle class take the racism and the lynches out, where they was building a strong middle class. That's because the big corporations, they profit shared. They made money and they shared it with the fam. That's why only one parent had to work. One parent had to work, and they still had everything: the cars, the houses, and everything. Now everybody got to work. The mother, the father, the dog, everybody on YouTube, everybody trying to make a dollar just to make the household run. You feel what I'm saying? So where is that profit from all of these corporations? The Congress is supposed to put in place. That's why they're supposed to put in place that these corporations has to take care of these people. A prime example of Amazon make billions and billions of dollars, but yet the people make $15 an hour, and they think that's something. If it was profit sharing, all those people, the minimum somebody from Amazon supposed to be making that sweep the floor is supposed to be like $60,000 a year. But there's nothing in place to force these companies that do business with the citizens of the United States to profit share with them. Instead, who's taking that profit? It's those lobbyists, and that money going back to the senators and the Congress people.
Basically, we need to
all of them are rich.
We need to use some of those antitrust laws.
Yeah,
that's sort of book.
Antitrust laws unless somebody make them mad. If you make them mad, here come antitrust. But if you on board with them, antitrust won't collect us. So we the people have to understand that all 535 of those people, right, left, in the middle, on top, or on the bottom, do not have the people best interests at heart. You can see it. Just look at their salaries. Mitch McConnell been in office for 36 years. He make $172,000 a year, which only equate, if he saved every penny, like $7 million. If you look up how much Mitch McConnell is worth, he's worth over $36 million. How can you be so successful at your investment? Where is all that money coming from? And you only make $172,000 a year. Where is that money coming from? How are you so good at hustling? You know, you made $36 million from being in office, and you only supposed to make $172. Where does money come from? That's that profit sharing that the companies are not sharing, is going to the lobbyists and going to these rule makers that are passing these rules. The same thing with the Supreme Court. Why do you think Citizens United is on the books while all these companies put all this money inside of our elections? The company corporations, they try to blame the 14th Amendment, but the corporation is only exists on a piece of paper. It needs state actors. A corporation only would account for one vote if it can get up and go vote. The directors of a corporation is only 5 or 10 men. That's only 5 or 10 votes. Why are they able to put so much money in our elections in order to tilt the waiver of the people? You know what I'm saying? They're able to put all these crazy ads, and that's why you got to have money so you can advertise and manipulate the people's minds. You need the money to manipulate their mind through advertisement to get your vote. It's all
Rodney. It's
all talking.
No, I was gonna say I agree. It's something else I wanted to address, because I know for the sake of time, because we haven't even got the reparations yet.
This on is serious, and all this stuff is real. I mean, it's right there in our face if you just look at it.
Well, I got time. I'm off tomorrow. I ain't working tomorrow, so we got plenty of time. Plenty of time. I'm not working tomorrow.
All right. now, Brother X, because I wanted to lay this out there, because another thing that was said. I know Miss Ronda Dixon said that Plessy versus Dixon. Plessy versus Ferguson. She said it overturned the 13th and 14th Amendment. And I'm like, it didn't overturn the 13th and 14th Amendment. They still on the books, and it's still good law. She also said that in that case, that the Supreme Court justice stated that a black man have no rights that a white man is bound to respect. Now, I wanted to make this clear. She got that from the Dred Scott case. That is the wrong case. It's not Plessy versus Ferguson. It is Dred Scott. Now, I have the exact statement that she was referencing right here. Dred Scott versus Stanford. Now, this is 60 U.S. 393, and it's from our federal Supreme Court in 1857. This is the statement she's referencing. It says, they had for more than a century before been regarded as beings of an inferior order. So they're talking about us black people. It says, and although unfit to associate with the white race, either in social or political relations, and so far inferior, that they had no rights which the white man was bound to respect, and that the Negro might justly and lawfully be reduced to slavery for his benefit. That's what she was referencing. Now, I wanted to point this out. I have another case. This case is called the Slaughterhouse Cases, excuse me, and it's 83 U.S. 36, and it's from the Federal Supreme Court in 1873. All right, so this is from 1873 because the Dred Scott case was overturned. Now, this is what the Slaughterhouse case says. It says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Now, they're quoting the 14th Amendment, Section 1. Now, this is what the court said in the Slaughterhouse cases. It says the first observation we have to make on this clause is that it puts at rest both the question which we stated to have been the subject of differences of opinion. It declares that persons may be citizens of the United States without regard to their citizenship of a particular state, and it overturns the Dred Scott decision by making all persons born within the United States and subject to its jurisdiction citizens of the United States. That its main purpose was to establish the citizenship of the Negro can admit of no doubt. The phrase subject to the jurisdiction was intended to exclude from its operation children of ministers, consuls, and citizens or subjects of foreign states born within the United States. So the point is this. The 14th Amendment, Section 1, according to the Slaughterhouse cases of 1873, overturned the Dred Scott case. The 14th Amendment, Section 1, overturned the Dred Scott decision. That's the point. So I wanted to clear it up because she was incorrect with what she said. The 13th and 14th Amendments are still on the books, just like the 15th Amendment. And the 15th Amendment is what guaranteed us, Black people, the right to vote. The Slaughterhouse cases cover that also. It's all there.
I'll make sure I let her know when I speak with her.
Okay.
Do you realize that you were wrong about this, and this? Yeah, I'm gonna bring it up to her. I'm gonna, because I want her back here. I want her to come back here and you know, and hopefully I can get you brothers back here too, and we can, you know, can turn this into a little round table.
But,
sorts.
Yes.
But also a lot of the stuff that she said, I feel her passion to help our people. You know what I'm saying?
Agree.
I don't think for no reason that she would intentionally try to mislead the people. I can hear it in the voice. I can hear how she's laying her case. She's absolutely correct. The only thing that we're pointing out is where she got her law from. You know what I'm saying? So once we show the laws that we're talking about, right? My question would be not only for her but for other attorneys, which I don't know how they would go. Would they then try to practice the other laws that are on the books, or will they succumb to that bar card? You know what I'm saying? Because the judge will tell them, quick, don't bring that shit in here. You're going to put your bar card at jeopardy if you bring these laws in here that I can't do nothing with. You didn't learn that in law school. So will they be willing to make those adjustments for the sake of our people?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Hope so. You know what I'm saying? But we, the people, can make them ourselves by just knowing it. You know, because I didn't have attorney, they will put my paperwork in, because if I didn't want to deal with a case that dealing with somebody I know, I would go get the lawyer, pay for it, and I would tell the lawyer, I need this, and this right here done, and let's see what happens. That's only because.
Are we putting too much trust into attorneys whether we go into a criminal case or a civil case? I mean, even though we have an attorney, because you do need an attorney at some point, you know, for some things you gotta have an attorney. So
yes, we're putting too much trust, Brother X. Yes.
Yeah, we're putting too much trust into him. But if we do get into a situation where we absolutely have an attorney, after we vetted this attorney, what I gather from what you brothers are saying now is that even though you have this attorney, you need to be reading your own case law and be discussing it with him as well, just in case he is not familiar with the case law, right?
Correct.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's civil or criminal, right? Say like if you have a charge, right? The charge is going to be connected to a code or a statute or a rule or regulation, something like that. Take that law and that code and search your Supreme Court in your state. See what they're saying about it. The hell what your lawyer is saying. See what the Supreme Court in your case is in your state is saying about it, and see what the Supreme Court of the United States is saying about that same situation. The same thing with civil, right? If you got a civil matter, somebody said you did something civilly, look up what they're talking about and see what the courts are saying. And then you can determine for yourself whether or not you're going to win or not. And if you see the case laws against you, you better settle. Save your money. That's just like if you're in the street selling drugs or doing whatever, and then all of a sudden you chill and the police come pick you up off the street, save your money for commissary because they're going to lock your ass up. That means they got so much information on you, they don't need you to be doing anything. They got enough information, enough witnesses to put you away. The same thing here. So if you're dealing with something civilly, right, you go check and see what your state and the federal Supreme Court says about your situation. Read it for yourself. When you're reading or whenever you're reading something, if you get to a word and you don't know what it is, you stop right there. Don't keep reading and you don't know what that word say. Read
look it
the
up.
definitions of the word, and we go to John Bouvier first, right? And then we go to Black's Law. Keith like 9th edition, I do too. I like 4th edition. The 4th edition is annotated because it provides case law for you.
Agreed.
So you get the definition of a word, and then they give you the case law to support it. You go read the case law and you state your case. So it's not you saying it, it's the Supreme Court of that state saying it, and the Supreme Court of the United States is saying it. They have to put that in. You're not giving them no fumble jumble or what you heard from Keith and Rodney. We're giving you the layout of how to track your case, how to whether civilly or criminally or criminal. It's going to be some either a code, or it's going to be what they're saying you did. You know, say they said that you threw a rock and broke something, or you hit somebody because you did something, right? First, you have to determine whether or not, if it's civilly, what I would do, whether or not I caused the damage or injury. If I don't cause the damage to property or injury to a person, they're in a world of trouble. Here come 12B6. But if you don't know that your attorney gonna play games, you know why? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Because whenever somebody files even a debt collection lawsuit, right? A credit card, anything, there's the Debt Collection Practicing Act, USC 1592. You know what I'm saying? You can go and read the debt collection law and see if they have standing to be there. See if they're violating your rights by calling you too much. You know what I'm saying? They have rules and regulations governing these debt collectors. They just can't come in and just harass you. They done sold the debt 5 or 6 times. How much did you pay for that debt? I paid $100 for it, but you owe me $1,000. You only get back what you spent. That's what the law say. Rodney Graves is not saying it.
Absolutely.
But if you don't know this, you're going to pay what they ask for.
Well,
so whether it's a debt collection case, any type of civil case, read what your state Supreme Court is saying on those charges, whether civilly or criminally, and then you frame your defense from there. Because you may mess around and be able to countersue because they're abusing the system. It's called abuse of process. Whenever
I've heard that. I've heard that before.
Bringing you in there on some bullshit, you can do a countersuit and dismiss their case because you got the state case law and Supreme case law and the Constitution on your side. So you care less about those other 6 million rules. You take whatever law that they bring against you and you compare them against your state constitution, against your federal constitution, against your state Supreme Court, and against your federal Supreme Court. It's just that simple. This shit ain't hard. It used to be hard, when it ain't more. It's a basic thing. I don't care about all those laws. I'm going to compare it. I'm going to take that law and I'm going to match it against the Constitution. And then I'm going to match it against what the Supreme Court say, and I'm going to see who wins. Now, if you lose, you lose. But at least go through those steps. See what your Constitution say versus because that law may be unconstitutional.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because the Supreme Court.
Debt is a good segue into a very, very hot button topic known as reparations.
Yeah, reparations.
So let's get into it, man. I've had this discussion before. Actually, I was interviewed by 2 of my good brothers, brother Gab Talk Media and Info Man. Shout out to Gab Talk Media and shout out to my brother Info Man. You know, I got invited on their platforms a while back, and each interview I conducted with my good brothers, of course, reparations came up. And everyone who knows me know what I think about reparations, because everyone knows X. I don't want the government to give me jack. All right. I'm one of those guys. I don't want nothing from the government. I don't want them giving me no money. I just want the government to get the hell out of my way. I've been noted to say this before, that do I believe that some of us are owed reparations? Absolutely. I believe something's owed. But I don't believe I'm owed anything.
Can I ask why?
I don't believe.
Can I ask why?
I don't believe I'm owed anything. Well, I don't believe I'm owed anything. Well, let me put it like this. Let me rephrase it. Where I live, right? I live in a municipality, right? I live in a city, right? And, you know, me and, you know, my wife and myself, man, we do all right for ourselves, all right? I own my own business. My wife owns her own business. You know, we ain't hunting our own food, or, you know, we ain't, you know, nothing like that. So, you know, we do okay. And it's just her and I. You know, our children are grown. You know, my baby's 23. So,
Okay.
you know, so our kids are grown. The only person I'm responsible for is my wife and my damn dog. Right.
That's right.
And here, you know, we have like these tent cities, man, where there's 100 tents and 200 tents, and, you know, people are sleeping on the ground. So if you're going to give money to folks, why would you give it to me when I see 100 people sleeping on the goddamn ground? I got a house. I got cars. I got 2 businesses. Like, why would you give me money? Why would you give me money while brothers is sleeping on the ground? While brothers is got a pile of stuff up under the bridge where they sleep on a homemade bed on concrete? Like, if you're gonna give people money, why would you start with people like me? To me, that just doesn't make any sense. Maybe I'm just old and foolish and don't understand anything, but it just seems a little counterproductive to give somebody like me money when some of our brothers are sleeping on the goddamn ground. Now, where am I wrong here?
Well, how about I say this, Brother X? You may be surprised, but our people already received reparations.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously,
In the
a lot
form
of them
of,
don't know this. A lot of them
in the
don't know
form
this.
of what? In the form of what? What?
Matter of fact, let me read it to you. Now,
Please,
this is
please do, sir. Please do.
all right. This is covered out of the federal court. All right. Now it says in re, that means in matter of African American slave descendants litigation. Now, this is a case, y'all. This is out of the Northern District of Illinois, and it's a case from 2004. And I'm only going to read this sentence because this is key. It says the representative branches. Now, the representative branches is your legislative branch of government and your executive branch. So the representative branches is Congress and the president. Considered the issue of reparations to former slaves, and the chosen vessel of reparations came in the form of constitutional and legislative enactments guaranteeing equality under the law and freedom from discrimination. So the point is this: we have received reparations. This is what no one is talking about. And the chosen vessel was constitutional enactments. That's your 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. And then it says legislative enactments. That would be your 1866, 1870, and various others civil rights acts. I'm not saying it. This is what the federal court said. And these enactments guarantee equality under the law and freedom from discrimination.
So that those are our reparations, is what you're saying.
Those are reparations.
Or at least that's what they consider.
Well,
to be
this is
our
the point.
reparations.
Check this out, Brother X. Now, you had senators back when slavery was first abolished that wanted to pay our ancestors monetary reparations. Cause see, people just say reparations, right? Now, reparations is anything that's used to repair a group of people, right? That's what a reparation is. So reparation is not necessarily monetary. This is what the average person don't understand. So you have monetary reparations, right? And that's what everybody is asking for today. Monetary reparations. Well,
Mm-hmm.
the Congress, right, back then did not agree to pay monetary reparations. It was on the table. Matter of fact, Senator Charles Sumner was one of the main proponents for monetary reparations, but he did not have enough support in Congress, so it never passed. But they did give us reparations in the form of constitutional amendments and legislative enactments. I'm not saying it. This is what the federal courts are saying. And these enactments is to guarantee equality under the law and freedom from discrimination.
And let me go. I should have had the there was a House Joint Resolution that they did provide some enslaved Africans 40 acres and a mule, but they took it back. You know what I'm saying? I want to say, I think it was HR, I want to say 1127, but don't quote me on that one. You know what I'm saying? Where they did provide, and Andrew Jackson came in and took all that back. You know what I'm saying?
Matter of fact, the same case talk about that, Rodney. In the same case. Yeah, they discussed that.
Yeah. So they gave some enslaved, they gave those who were the enslavers more reparations. You know what I'm saying? But they gave those who in that South Carolina, that Georgia area, they gave them land. And then whenever they knocked off Lincoln, right, they came in with Andrew Jackson and he did what he did. You know what I'm saying? And there was a young, about the little quick note about the Dred Scott decision, which was in 1856, which actually one of the proponents, which led to the Civil War. It was a young lawyer that was following that case in 1856 very closely. And he did a lot that he tried to do to whenever he had an opportunity. That young lawyer name was Abraham Lincoln. Whenever he was a young attorney coming up through law school, he was following that case vividly. You know what I'm saying? And saw the wrongs within. So that's one of the reasons why he pushed for that emancipation proclamation of the slavery, although he didn't really like black folks, even though his mother name was Moors. You know what I'm saying? With descendant of Moors, he was he didn't want to really get rid of. If he could have kept the slavery intact and still accomplish his goals, he would have, but he couldn't. So therefore, he did what he did do in order to help put us as close as equal footing as he could. So whenever that case that Keith is talking about provided us the enslaved Africans with the federal and equal rights and amendments, those who were enslaved were entitled to the reparations that people are talking about today, right? People are talking about reparations for what happened in slavery, but those of us today, right? I saw that article too, where they was given from the free marijuana, from the marijuana proceeds, they providing some money to black folks. I read that the other day, whenever they was talking about the reparations, they were I forgot my train of thought. They were, what was I talking about, Keith?
Oh God! I started reading the article.
I started reading. Threw me off.
Yeah, I did that to distract everybody, to let everybody know that they have Evanston, Illinois, has become the first U.S. city to pay reparations to black residents. The Chicago Suburb City Council voted 8-1 to distribute $400,000 to eligible black households, which I think is a good thing. I think they should start with see, that's my thing there.
But they're not talking about slavery. You know, although they have all the slavery stuff up here, they're talking about people who were just discriminated against.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? They're not talking about where we're paying people if they can prove that they were descendants of slaves. They're not saying that, although they have the illusion as if they are. really, if you go into this article, they only talk about those who can prove that they were discriminated against after the policies, which is what
Yes.
we are actually entitled to.
Hold
I
on,
don't
what
feel
policy?
huh?
Hold on, hey Rodney. After what policy? They was discriminated against concerning you talking about what policy discriminated against them?
You talking about like any housing apology? If you got to read the article, like anything that discriminatory with them trying to get housing or equal this or equal that. The same thing that you're talking about.
But see, that makes sense because remember, this is the point, brother Xavier. We actually, Rodney and I have actually talked about this. That the only way we can see our people receiving any type of monetary reparations, it would have to be something that will pass what is called the strict scrutiny test. Now, the strict scrutiny test is based upon the 14th Amendment, Section 1, the Equal Protection Clause. All right. Now that's interesting that this is something that's being paid to people based upon them being discriminated against dealing with housing. Well, it's a known fact that back during FDR's presidency, right? Back during FDR did the New Deal. FDR was responsible for creating what is known today as the white middle class. You see what I'm saying? And FDR, his policy subsidized housing, unemployment, etc. for white families only and completely left out black families. Well, guess what? There's still some black people that are alive today that was adversely affected by that discriminatory program. Now, a reparation can be paid to people like that. You see what I'm saying? Now, something dealing with slavery directly, I don't think it would pass the strict scrutiny test. Why am I saying this? Because they already put laws and stuff on the books to deal with the effects of slavery. We got to talk about stuff that's been happening over the last, I'm going to say 100 years at least, that people are still alive today and have been affected by it. Things like the welfare state. The welfare state has destroyed the black family in ways that Jim Crow and slavery did not. We should be bringing our issues based upon those type of things. That's if we want to make any claims for reparations, it should be based upon stuff like that, not slavery.
Yeah, well, I put it up there for the folks to see, and I also put the link to the article in the chat. Go ahead and hit the link because y'all know what X always say. I always say go ahead and read this article for yourself and come to your own conclusions and your own understanding. Don't just listen to us talk up here. You know, do your own reading, do your own research, and come to your own understanding. But I think it's great that they're giving folks $400,000. I think that's great. But see, my problem is this. My problem is the whole whoever is eligible part. Because see, what determines that? I mean, what determines that? You know, what determines eligibility? Do you have to go to ancestry.com and prove that you linked to slaves? Do you have to prove that you were discriminated by the city when you tried to get city housing? Do you have to prove that you were discriminated against by the water authority when your pipes busted, in your backyard that was running from the water main? I mean, what do you have to do to be quote unquote eligible? And that's one of my real problems with the whole reparation thing. Like, because that people who really deserve it, some of them are not going to be able to prove they deserve it. If you can understand what I'm saying. Because I think about the people out in Tent City. All right. I mean, these people don't have the resources to prove. A lot of them probably don't even have identification, let alone being able to prove that they're directly linked to slavery or prove that they were discriminated against by the city government, town government, county government, local government, state government. Then they're not going to be able to prove that. So it becomes a thing of eligibility. Now, somebody like me, guess what? I mean, if I got to prove something, I have a lawyer, I have resources, I have money in the bank, I can check all these things. I can go to ancestry.com. I could talk to my folks. I can do all this kind of shit, get whatever I need to prove that I'm eligible if I am. But the guy sleeping in the damn tent in the field, he might be directly related to a slave and can't prove it. So he's
Right.
a person that deserves it, but he can't prove that he deserves it, so he can't get it. Even though somebody like me, I don't need it. I mean, if I don't get reparations, ain't shit gonna happen. Me and my wife still gonna eat. My dog gonna eat. I'm still gonna be driving my cars and trucks. I mean, I'm still gonna be living in my house. Ain't nothing. If I don't get it, nothing's going to change. So I can get access to this because I have a few little pennies in the bank and have resources to prove it, but the brother sleeping on the ground don't. So guess what? He's not going to get it even though he needs it and or deserves it. That is my whole problem with the reparations things, because I feel like the people who need it and or deserve it, a lot of them are going to be left out of it because they can't prove that they're eligible for it. But y'all got it.
Let me unpack that a little bit.
That's a great point.
Yeah. Let me unpack that. Like whenever we're dealing with enslaved, right, and we saying that they was already provided reparations through the laws, things for the equal protection, right? Now, most laws that are being proposed to deal with reparations, they talking about from being enslaved, right? And even if you can prove that you were a descendant of slave, and I think you ought to prove something, because you ought to be able to prove that you have some lineage back to the enslaved people that was here, whether they were brought here from Africa, or rather most of us, which was already here and just tricked into slavery by what they do. So that for us to try to say that we are entitled to reparations based on the enslaved Africans, we don't have standing, because like Keith say, none of us were enslaved. But after the reparations that they provided, what Keith just read, that they're going to provide laws and acts to equal slave for better equality. From that point on, that's what all of us are entitled to reparations for, because they did not keep that deal that Keith just read. Whenever they say that we're going to give you equal protection and the laws to protect you, like the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the 15th Amendment, the Civil Rights Act of 1866, they didn't keep their promise. You know what I'm saying? So we all can prove that we
Absolutely.
were by what they gave reparations for. They gave us a way to get equality, but they failed to provide it after they put it on the books. So that's what those who are alive today, that's what we are entitled to reparations for the mistreatment, for all of the welfare states, for the breaking up of the black family, for the Jim Crow days who was created by the white guy named Rice, dressed in blackface in 1828. You know what I'm saying? That's where the Jim Crow laws came from. We are entitled to slavery for the result of the slavery, not for being enslaved ourselves, because we were not enslaved. But after they supposedly had passed something, after they supposedly emancipated us, they turned a blind eye on the lynchings. They turned a blind eye on the continued rapes. They turned a blind eye on the misuse of the housing policy. And you wonder why Southeast Washington, D.C., every building in Southeast, right there by Alabama Avenue, Stanton Road, looks exactly like Fifth Ward. The same building, the same school, the same libraries in place. They cookie cut ghettos across the country and put us in. That's what they owe reparations for. You know what I'm saying? And that's what that article is saying, that they're giving reparations $400,000 from the profit of the marijuana for those who were discriminated against with those policies. Housing was just one of the policies. So we are entitled to reparations for that, but I don't believe we're entitled to reparations for being enslaved, but we are entitled for being reparations after that, which equates to everything else. You feel us? So we have to be able to dissect it and break it in two. And HR 40, as demanded, is two birds in a bush. You know, so we really have a bird in our hand that we can really stand on, but we have the lawyers, the politicians, everybody who's trying to speak on behalf of us, who was trained by who? The system of racism and white supremacy. You're not going to find anybody that break down reparations the way we just broke it down, because that's how reparations is, because that's how it was laid out. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead.
No, I would say because think about it. We wasn't always treated equally. This is a known fact. The federal court said our reparations was constitutional enactments, legislative enactments, right? That and I don't want to paraphrase it, so I'm gonna say it how they said it. You know what? I moved the screen. Yeah. But okay, here we go. Guaranteeing equality under the law and freedom from discrimination. We can prove that. We can prove that we wasn't always treated equal under the law, and that some things discriminated against us after slavery.
So
some policies discriminated against us.
So we never got our quote unquote reparations that you referred to, as far as, you know, equal protection under the law and all that kind of stuff. So we never got those reparations. But absolutely. I look at this here from my brother Dollar Will. Shout out, brother Dollar Will. He says that the issue is qualification by ancestry. All descendants of slavery deserve it. Need does not matter. The bank does let you miss mortgage payments because the bank doesn't need it. I get that, brother Dollar Will. I get that. But what I'm saying is this. There are people who need it way more than many of us. I mean, like I said, I mean, I get in my truck right now and drive 5 minutes, and you run right into Tent City, where it's the people sleeping on the ground. God damn it! So I think they need the help more than I do, more than you do, brother Dollar Will, more than brother Rodney do, more than brother Keith do. So if they're going to do this reparations thing, I just believe they need to start there. That's just me. Call me crazy, call me foolish, but that's just what I believe. They need to start with these brothers that I see when I'm leaving to go to a job site, sleeping on the ground underneath the overpass. But go ahead.
Now check this out, brother X. Now let me know what you think about this, because I agree. I could make it no matter what. So can you. So can Keith and Dollar Will. But check this out. We have a duty to our people, right? So we know damn well that those on Skid Row, I'm gonna say Skid Row because we have people in tent cities around in DC as well, right? We already know that they're not gonna go to them and do nothing for them, although they are most in need, right? So they may be most in need, but it's people like us who have the resources, right, that can get those reparations and create organizations and foundations to go help one of those brothers, all those brothers and sisters, to with the reparations that we get, form foundations, form trusts, form organizations to go walk these brothers and sisters through, because we got to help out. We can't wait for them to bring us nothing because they're not going to do it. The fact that we have the resources to go get it, we should go get it and turn it right around and make sure that they get it through the foundations of the money and stuff that we get. We can make sure that they get it. We can go do everything for them.
I gotta give you some pushback on that. I gotta give you some pushback on that, brother Rodney, because you know damn well if you give Negroes all a $5 million check, the last thing they're gonna think about is the people laying on the ground in Tent City. Now, some of us will.
That's true.
Some of us will. About that many of us will. But the rest of us, they're going right out, buying a goddamn Benz, a BMW, an Alfa Romeo, a damn mansion, a boat, a 150-inch TV. I mean, come on, man. I mean, that's what they're gonna do, which is fine. Which is fine. It's their money. Do whatever they want to do. But I just don't think they're gonna be worrying about the brothers laying on the ground, man, uptown.
Check this out, because I totally agree with you. Because whenever they provide reparations in that form, right now with money that we already know, like what percentage of people do you think that just gonna go blow the money to spend it the way that you just described it? Say if 100% of us who are entitled to it get it, what percentage do you believe would just go blow it the way that you just spoke of? What percentage?
That's a good question. I just don't believe it's the majority. Well, maybe I'm a little prejudiced. All right. I'm prejudiced because, of course, I'm married to one of the biggest bleeding hearts in America, and we be at Tent City. That's why I'm so familiar with it, because my wife, she will cook goddamn this big old smorgasbord of food, and make plates and have my black ass out there with her handing them out, even though it's 5 degrees out there. All right. She will go down there, and everybody who come up, she give them $5, $10, give them the mittens, the blankets, the socks, all kinds of shit. All right. And I mean, my wife has been like this ever since we lived in New York, because she would do the same thing there. And we lived in Hudson Valley. Hudson Valley, there's 9 months of winter, 3 months of summer. There is no fall. There is no spring. It goes from being really, really hot to really, really cold for 9 months, then really, really hot with like a day between. And my wife would have my ass out there in the park, 10 below goddamn zero on Thanksgiving, handing out plates to all these motherfuckers that's sleeping in the park. So maybe I'm a little biased because, see, I don't see people out there. All right. I see me out there. I see my wife out there. I don't see other people. I don't see other brothers. And I know a lot of brothers in this city that are doing very, very well. Okay. I know brothers who do way better than me, got a bigger business than me, bigger shop than me. I don't see them down there goddamn shivering and damn near catching pneumonia, handing people food and socks and blankets and all this so kind of hats and foolishness. My wife fill up the damn car, man, with blankets, hats, socks. And guess what? I don't want to go with her. I don't want to go, but I have to, because that's my wife. You know, motherfuckers is down there, you know, people down there on drugs and all so kind of shit. You know, you put your hands on my woman, I'm gonna lay your ass down, because you know I got that heat underneath that seat. So I got to go down there with her, because I can't let her be down there with them Negroes by herself. So now I'm down there freezing to death. All right. So now that I'm there, she's like, oh yeah, hand these plates out, you know. And I don't see people down there like that. It's why I say that kind of stuff. See, I've been doing that kind of stuff with my wife for years. All right, at least 15. I've been doing that kind of stuff. I mean, 3 months ago, my wife walked in here one day and she was like, come on, you know, we need to take your truck to go do something. Because, you know, I got work trucks and shit, you know, for my business. And, you know, I got my favorite work truck that only I drive, and I'm probably going to get buried in it. But that's another story. So she's like, oh, we got to take your truck somewhere. Now, when my wife come to tell me about riding in the truck, because she hates my truck, because I smoke my cigars in it, never washed the motherfuckers, all kinds of shit in there, you know, goddamn beer cans, all kinds of shit in there. So she do not be wanting to get in that motherfucker, all right? When she tell me we taking the truck, I know it's some BS. I know it's some bullshit. I'm like, okay, where we going? She's like, oh, we going to the bed store. I'm like, for what? We just bought beds like 6 months ago. Oh, well, I met these people, and they just moved into a house, and this girl don't got no beds for her and her kids. So we at the bed store buying beds, not for people in this house. Nope. Nope. For other folks. See, that's kind of shit that I've seen all the time, because that's who I'm married to. That's how my wife is. Man, I got to look out for black folks even when I don't want to. All right, because sometimes, trust me, I don't want to. So that's why I say the things I say, because see, I don't see these people down there helping folks in Tent City. I don't see them down there. I mean, you know, you may see some people come from the local, you know, Salvation Army, or, you know, the local church or whatever. You know, they may come down there and give them a meal, but I just find it hard to believe that if tomorrow the government say, okay, all you Negroes get reparations, everybody come get your $5 million check, something tells me that those people are still gonna be down there in Tent City. But all of us with all our money.
You want me to tell you,
got all our money, because if those people from Tent City don't get their $5 million, they gonna still be in Tent City. Yeah, that's just what I think.
Let me tell you why I agree.
Some people you can't help, you know.
Let me tell you why I agree. But then at the same time, I'm a checkmate this drink, right? So when I asked what the percentage do you think that people will blow that money the way that you're speaking of, and I agree with that. You know, I said they're gonna blow that joint, but what percentage? Like 80, 90% or
I
more?
would say I
70?
would say at least 50. I would say
Okay,
at least 50% would go and blow it on
okay,
100 and
okay.
130-inch TVs
I'm gonna give you 80%.
Yeah, I
I'm
and
was gonna give
BMWs.
70.
I'm gonna give you I'm gonna give you 80% of people gonna act like that. 80%. Okay, so let's say 80%, right? So
Hmm.
what you and your wife has been doing is conscious of our people, right? That
Hmm.
y'all without the reparations, you go down there because your heart and your soul know, even when you don't want to, you still go and do it. Because if you really didn't want to do it, you wouldn't do it, right? So something is telling you outside of your wife, I'm gonna go down here. And I bet you when you do it, you enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? It's plenty of conscious people in our community, from scholars, from lawyers, from business people. So if you got 80% of people that's gonna blow that money, right? Whenever you know we only have a half of 1% that rule the planet, right? So
Hmm.
if all 100% of us get that, we got 80% that fuck that money up. We got 20% of us that have a more spiritual universal duty, and I guarantee at least 10% of that gonna take care of them people you're talking about. Because you're gonna be one of them, and I'm gonna be one of them, and I know Keith gonna be one of them, and I know Dollar Will gonna be
Probably.
one. You know that's
Probably. I mean, I
That's a good
probably
point.
would. I would,
there you
if I would even tell them, look, because I've talked to people down there. We talk to them and stuff, and some of the people down there are actually pretty content with being there. So, I mean, I would
For those
probably
who want
more
to
than
go,
like,
everybody may not want to
yeah,
go.
yeah.
Yeah,
Some people are content, and
yeah,
I would convince them. I'd be like, look, man, I'm gonna buy this plot of land right here, and then move your tent over here, man, so you ain't by the highway and the overpass. Put your tent over here. I mean, because I'm like this, right? I know that there's people out there that are struggling, okay? And I'm not a rich man, all right? I'm a working man, all right? Now, people think I got all this money because, I own a business. But what people don't understand about owning a business is like the equivalent of having a good job. Because guess what? I'm a motherfucker. I got to still get up 5 o'clock in the morning. It's not like I'm sitting back in some office, with my feet kicked up and money just running in the door. No, I'm out there on routes with
you
my
gotta go
guys.
get it.
All right.
Yeah,
Yes, I'm up every day, 5 o'clock in the morning. All right. So it's not like, all this money. No, it's the equivalent of having a good job. Just so happen I'm the fucking boss. That's all it is. Because
yeah,
I still gotta get my black ass up every day and go to work. All
that's right.
right. Um,
Absolutely.
but I know that I'm more fortunate than some people, man. I mean, come on, man. There's people who work at Walmart who are more fortunate than the people sleeping in a tent city. So
Right.
I
Mhm.
understand that. So I would like those people, I guess, because like I said, maybe I'm just biased because I actually see the people. I'm down there with the people. I talk to the people. All right. And we haven't been there in a while. I had to literally stop my wife from going down there since this COVID shit hit. I was like, look here, woman, ain't gonna be no more tent city visits, god damn it, because we don't know what's going on down there. And she was upset about it. Oh, God, look, we're not going. All right, that's it.
Mhm.
So we haven't been there in a while. And I see these people, man. I talk to these people. I listen to what got them there and why they're there and, the shit that happened in their lives. And you want to do something for them. I mean, if I could, I probably would fucking buy a damn building and put them all in it. If I could, just so happen that I can't do that. I can't do that kind of stuff. But like I said, I do be down there, goddamn, and then my wife be giving them my money and buying a whole bunch of just socks and the bullshit for them and then giving them blankets and shit. So, we do what we can. So I would like to see those people, man, out of that. I guess that's why I say what I say when it comes to the reparation thing, man, because why would you give money to a person like me? All right. While my brothers is sleep on the dirt. That's where I'm at with it. Like, and I'm not
Well,
moving off of that position. Because if you can't
hey,
get those
brother,
people off the ground, why would you give me money?
I agree. Now I got to
So,
give both
so
of
you
y'all
can
some
get them off
pushback.
the ground.
But hold on. I gotta give all y'all some pushback, even Dollar Will. Now he says in his statement, the issue is qualification by ancestry. All descendants of slavery deserve it. Well, this is the point. How do we determine who was a slave and who wasn't? All black people was not slaves back in those days. Some black people were freed men, or if shall I say, some black men were freedmen. So how do we determine, right, who were slaves, especially now, 200 years later? How do we determine this? We seen that in 12 Years a Slave. If that man was never abducted, he wouldn't have been a slave. He was a free man. How many more black men and women were walking around free at that time? All black people, right? All black Americans were not slaves. So how do we determine who qualifies for slavery?
That I ain't mean to cut you off. That's why we don't deal with the enslaved. You deal with what happened after they supposedly had emancipated and give you free rights. Because we all can prove that we discriminated against based on these bullshit laws that they try to say that's going to give us equality. We can all prove that. I'm sure, Brother X, in your business, that you can show where you probably could have qualified for a loan or something. I'm sure we all ran through discriminatory practices in our lives, despite how we came out. You know what I'm saying? We all can say,
absolutely,
well, I was discriminated with, somebody in your family was discriminated against with these policies. You know what I'm saying? Because that's why, like the money, like really money grow on trees. You know, it's created out of thin air. So therefore, why don't we have the same opportunity to collect on that Wall Street money whenever it's all created right there, whenever other people can? Why can't we get those loans that come through whenever people come to the country as a national versus a citizen? You know, it's all this stuff is divided. Who gets the money? These are blatant discriminatory practices based in policy, rooted in policy, and we can prove that it hasn't been fair. You know what I'm saying? So you can take the enslavement out, because none of us was enslaved, but we was all based on our parents and our grandparents who didn't know what we know, because we went through the trenches and learned it. Everybody didn't come up. Some of us gave up, and that's why they in Tent City. Some of them, you know, some situations, you know what I'm saying, because they couldn't take it no matter. It's like, fuck it, I quit. You know what I'm saying? To where some people stuck it all the way through, went through all the road bumps, and you are where you are today. You know, I'm sure you were not where you are today, Brother X, because it was all easy.
No,
you know, you didn't get everything that you got, because every time you tried, you got it the first time. But Lily Mae and Billy Bob has those privileges. Why do you think whenever a person can be sitting inside a car and say, I have a gun on me with no sign of a gun, he gets shot in front of his daughter and his girlfriend? But yet a white boy walking to a black church, kill everybody, they take his ass to Burger King. We owe discriminations for that. That's the reparations that they owe us for. You know what I'm saying? How can two people get look at the same crime but two different punishments? How can a person go to Burger King for killing 9 people in a church, and the person doing absolutely nothing get his head shot off in front of his daughter? If that's not discriminatory.
Well, don't you think that it's there's nuances to not just the reparations itself, but isn't it going to be nuances to, you know, like the levels of eligibility? I mean, some people may be eligible for one reason, and some people may be eligible for another reason. Or is it a blanket thing where it's like, okay, you black, so you eligible for all these reasons right here? Or is there nuances to it? Is each person gonna have? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, are they going to sit in the House of Congress and say, well, all black folks are eligible for this? Or is it going to be, because it's going to come through government? It's not coming no other way. It's going to come through government, right? So do they sit in those houses of Congress and say, well, all black folks are eligible for this, or is it all black folks who can prove X, Y, and Z are going to be eligible, and maybe the people who can prove A, B, and C may be eligible for this amount. People who can prove X, Y, and Z will get this amount. You know, it's going to have to be nuances to it, right? It's not going to be some blanket thing where everybody just walk down and pick up a check.
Yeah.
I think
I
definitely
totally
the
agree
latter.
with that. Now, if you look at it throughout the whole system of the globe, right? But then I'm gonna drop our bucket where we stand, which is in the United States. Now, globally, I think all black people deserve something not only from the United States, but from the system that colonized them or enslaved them, and they treated them. And as a result, you can't go nowhere on this planet and you won't find black people at the bottom of the pole. That's done by design. You know what I'm saying? It's that design that it was done by that. You know what I'm saying? So it's much deeper than being enslaved, because I think enslavement was a physical thing. But what's been going on after this so-called slavery and colonization across the planet? You know, but we can only deal with right here in the United States. So to me, it would have to be the latter of what you said. You have to do some type of proving, because in the whole totality, all black folks in the diaspora deserve something. You know what I'm saying? But that's too broad for us to even deal with right now. So if you drop it right here in the United States, you're gonna have to have some sort of requisites or requirements in order to justify what they're asking for versus what they're giving and what they're receiving. It's gonna have to be something in place. And who determines that? They got an HR 40 out there, but that makes that determination. But who made the determination for HR 40?
HR 40 been sitting. It's been sitting since 1989. I think it was called HR 3745 at the time, when John Conyers, or shall I say Representative John Conyers, first introduced it to the House of Representatives. That bill has been sitting for 30 years, y'all. If the Democrats, if was going to do anything with it, to me, it would have been happened. I feel like it's a carrot that they continue to put in front of the black community so that we continue voting for the Democrats. That's what I believe.
So we can keep having these discussions here on YouTube also, and to keep the discussion going. Shout out to Dollar Will for the $5 super chat. My brother Dollar Will, he says a multi-generational problem requires a multi-generational solution. The repair is not just for the living. And I agree with you, brother Dollar Will. I agree with you, man. I agree. I mean, people people get it mixed up when I go to talking about this reparations stuff. So let me go ahead and clear this up right here and now.
So you froze.
Yeah, he did.
Everybody's screen just went black for a second. It was just, can y'all hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Now. Yeah, we can now.
Yeah, because every screen just had the crazy buffer thing going on. But I don't have a problem with the reparations argument. I don't, because I do believe that, you know, some black folks are owed, you know, something. You know, I mean, I think something should come down the pipe. My problem is how it gets mitered out, obviously. You know, how they, you know, distribute it is a problem that I have. The people who are eligible for it and the people who are not eligible for it, that's a problem I have with it. And not only that, how much? What are you going to give? I'm a true believer that the United States doesn't have enough money to pay black folks back. There isn't enough money. However much money the United States got, they owe black people 100 times that. So they don't have enough money to pay black folks back. You know, I mean, of course, they can just kind of give you some hush money to shut you up. But I don't think they got enough money to give, because even if they gave every black person in this country $5 million, to me, that wouldn't be enough. No, that wouldn't be enough. I mean, for what you claim you're giving the reparations for, you got to come better than that. You got to come better than giving each black person $5 million. I want you to give each black person $500 million. Can you do that?
Right.
I mean, because that's what I think. I don't think there's no number you can put on it. And you know they're going to put a number on it, just like they put a number on everything else. Because what they're going to do is say, okay, each black person that qualifies is going to get X amount of dollars. That's what it's going to be. And they're going to determine it. They're going to determine it ultimately. And I have a problem with that too. Go ahead.
They can print it. You know what I mean? They can print it. They print money all the time, but the inflation is going to be ridiculous. It'll kind of be like the whole Zimbabwe $1 billion notes. You know, we're kind of turned into another Zimbabwe if they was to pay everyone that type of money.
The reparations, as far as like just strictly money, we wouldn't know what to do with the money. You know, it's the critical mass of us.
Large, we would. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The critical mass of us wouldn't know what to do. A lot of us would kill ourselves with that money. You know what I'm saying? So you know, we'd kill ourselves. We'd hurt ourselves by accident. You know, it wouldn't be intentional. It would just be a big accident waiting to happen. You know, the fact that they provided these protections and equality protections that they claimed that Keith read. That's really all they got to do is honor that, and we can get on our feet by ourselves. Technically,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Imagine if you go to a bank and you have a business plan the way some of these white folks can go and just get what they need and make it happen. Now, don't get the money with the intent not to do the right thing. You feel what I'm saying? You have to have the intent to do the right thing, or it's not going to work. So if you're able to have the same results from the opportunity, not just having an opportunity, because they claim we have an opportunity, but we all don't have the same results from the same opportunities that they claim. So if we can have the same opportunity and we don't have that hidden hand predetermining our results, then we can get on our feet the way we need to get. But at the same time, they know that would be financing their demise. Because in the Plessy versus Ferguson, whenever they talked about separate but equal, that was the best thing for us. Separate but equal. It was separate, but it was never, ever, ever, ever equal. You see what I'm saying? Because whenever it got close to equal, that's when you had the Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's when you had the Rosewood and the countless other annihilations of our people and property over time. You know what I'm saying? So they know if they gave us a half a opportunity, what would happen. You know what I'm saying? So they're not going to finance their demise. So I don't think they're going to give money and all that shit either. You know what I'm saying? Because they have all these people that look like us that claim that they want reparations, but they know to get the critical mass of that look like us to vote in a particular way. We have a Black Congressional Congress. How many times have they said anything about helping out people that look like us as a whole? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't exist. You got blacks in government. You have all these black, the civil rights, the NCAA. What's it called? What's it called?
NAACP.
Yeah, John. I got the tournament on my mind. I apologize. But we have all these that's supposed to be for the betterment of our folks, right? But they only provide in my opinion, based on history and based on what we can prove, and we can prove that they have not done anything to put us at the level that we need to be. Instead, they profited off our demise by telling us they're going to do A, B, C. We have a lot of Al Sharptons, but we have them right there in Congress. You know, how can we have a Black Congressional Congress, but we have no Black Congressional, nothing to support our Black congressional neighbor? It shouldn't be a tent city where you probably got Black officials in that town or in that.
That's because they specialize in symbolism. See, that's why I don't participate in identity politics, man. I don't participate in none of that because all it is symbolism, man. No substance, none. Just symbolism.
I have to agree because I think about 6 or 7 months back, I actually had the North Carolina chapter president of the NAACP on here, and I mean she answered the questions that I asked her, but she kind of she never really got to the meat and potatoes of what was going on. It was close to election time, and she didn't really have a relationship with the local mayor or the county clerk's office. She said they didn't have a relationship, and I found that kind of odd. Being that you're the chapter president of this state, you should have
Absolutely.
some type of relationship with the mayors, of the local municipalities, the governor of the state, that kind of stuff you would think. And she said she didn't have a relationship with these people, and I found that odd. Go
That's
ahead.
odd. Just look at their name,
Yeah.
Brother X. What is it called? The National Coalition for Advancements of Colored People. How
Yes.
how can they possibly advance us and they don't have the relationship that you just talked about? She wasn't
Exactly.
answering. She wasn't answering your questions. She's probably an attorney. She was hitting you with legalese, and all she did was respond. She didn't answer your question. She responded to your question. That's all she did.
Somebody else told me that too. They said
That's a
the
court
same
trick.
thing.
See, hey, brother X, a lot of these attorneys, man, they really, honestly, a lot of them are kind of narcissistic, in my opinion. They really believe that they're a lot more intelligent than everyone else. They do.
Yeah.
They do.
That because they're taught that in school. I never met an attorney that didn't think they were smarter than me.
And that's why they get upset when you're telling them something they didn't know. A lot of them don't want to accept it.
Or you get them in court, and then you make them sweat, or
Exactly.
or you make them ask the judge for help. You know what I'm saying? The judge supposed to be impartial. I done had many times with the judge to practice law from the bench. You know what I'm saying? He was like, "Oh no, you ain't getting away with that one. Here, help." We got our record where a judge helped the attorney.
Exactly.
Transcript. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't stop us because we can't let it stop us. You know what I'm saying? Because if you allow it to stop, we would never even see the light to get out of anything, because we are dependent on people who was trained by the system to keep us down. You know what I'm saying? That's why we don't know the law. That's why we sent to these attorneys, and they are taught the law that really don't help us, although they are very eloquent in how they talk, on how they speak, on the law that they know and what they know, but they just don't know enough to free and emancipate us with the laws that are on the books. We're not saying these are something that just right. This is something that ought to be done. We're saying this is what they won the war. They wrote the laws. You know what I'm saying? We got to go by the laws, because we can't beat them in the physical war. So after they kicked our ass, you know what I'm saying, here on this land, because if Christopher Columbus never stepped foot on this ground, you never stepped foot in the United States, as the history say, then how did we get in this predicament? If it wasn't Christopher Columbus, who did it? Because Christopher Columbus had never come here. Prove it. Prove Christopher Columbus came on the United States. Prove that. You can't prove it. You know, so you from New York, and I'm sure you heard of Verrazano Bridge, right?
Yes. Very familiar with it.
Where did Verrazano Bridge come from? They say Christopher Columbus did his so-called discovery in 1492. And like 20 or 30 years later, a guy came called Giovanni Verrazano, right? He came to that mainland right there in New York, and inside his manuscript, he described the people that was here. Just like Columbus described the people that he saw. He described people as not having dark hair, dark skin, short hair, and naked. They had their little, not having clothes on. He didn't describe long red people with the Chinese eyes. You know what I'm saying? With nothing but the Chinese people came over here thousands of years ago and mixed with people that look like us. So that's where you get the Indian from. You know what I'm saying? The redness. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the Indians say we got our eyes from the Chinese, but ask the Indian where they get that dark skin, and watch them start stuttering. You know, so the Verrazano Bridge is named after Giovanni Verrazano, who was a so-called explorer after in the early 1500s. So those are some of the people that was here. Well, you can't prove that Columbus was here.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
most people don't know.
I appreciate you, brothers. I appreciate you brothers coming on. We closing in on the 3-hour mark. So I'm gonna give y'all the final thoughts. Give me your final thoughts before we peel out of here, man. And you know, let me know what you got out to close it out, man. I want to hear it. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I'll start, Rodney. Final thought. I mean, I got to say this, Brother X. I really appreciate you allowing us to come on.
Absolutely.
You know, I think the show was hot. I think
Yes.
it was, man.
Yes.
I mean, we discussed a lot, and I think it's
Yes.
imperative for all of your listeners, everyone that's listening. You got to take time to learn the law. You have to. You know what I mean? Because to me, right, I would say the first issue that I believe us Black people have here in America is first an economic issue, right? We got to learn to do for ourselves. Economics first. But I feel like the second issue is the fact that we're ignorant. We're ignorant to the law. And the law here in America, the American jurisprudence governs this society. It's foolish to live in a society when you don't understand the laws that operate it. I'm just saying. So I want to finish with that.
I agree.
Yeah, that's pretty much my agree. I have to thank you personally as well for giving us the opportunity to come and try to share some of our what we've learned, what we've experienced. We don't talk from a position because we have one of our mentors taught us anything that can be proven must be proven. So we spent a lot of years, thousands of hours proving what we say. So whenever we say something, we're going to give you the evidence. We're just not going to talk and bring it up out of our ass. That's why Keith was reading case law. That's why we're giving you codes. That's why we're giving you articles in the Constitution. We're giving you real things to use. We're not giving you something hocus pocus and go and say, and you know, we're giving you the confidence that you can read and understand. We gave you how to read and understand this legalese that they got us trapped in words. We gave you the dictionaries to use. We told you how to read, because I all know that most of us can't read. We can pronounce words, but we ain't reading worth shit. How many times you got to read before you think you understand something? So we try to lay in this short period of time like a light foundation of how to study. This is how Keith and I study. We talk and debate all the time, and whoever had the most facts, that's who win. I win some, Keith wins some. You know, so we don't agree on everything. We let the facts be the end game. You know what I'm saying? So Keith bring his facts, I bring my facts. At the end of the day, the facts win. So it's not what Keith says, it's not what I say, it's what the facts say. It's what the facts are. So whenever we try to address anybody, we let them know that we're not against attorneys, we're not against politicians, but what we are against is they're misleading us, whether it's intentional or not. You know, a lot of it is not intentional because they just don't know. They only know what they was taught. But some of this shit is intentional because a lot of people know. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
so the
absolutely.
attorneys are in a position, they either have to, they get to the point where they're making so much money where they just rolling with the system, or they trying to pay those student loans. So they're not going to be willing to risk that bar card because they got to pay the student loan, or they're making enough money to where they're going to keep rolling with what's going on. And we, the people, have to check that, because we, the people, have to understand that they swore to a constitution despite all those other laws, codes, and regulations that they're trying to use against us. They didn't take an oath to those codes and laws. They took an oath to the Constitution. And that's what I think we need to start with, in the understanding of the words used within.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate
Brother
y'all
X,
coming on, man. Go ahead. You got it. Go ahead.
Can
Go
I
ahead,
thank
Brother Keith.
Dollar Will for what he just said? Your best defense is a good offense. He's 100% correct. And knowledge dispels fear. You know what I'm saying? That's another thing. So the more you know, the least amount of fear you will have concerning any of these type of situations.
Absolutely.
I agree.
So
Well, once again, man, I appreciate y'all coming on. Brother Keith, Brother Rodney, y'all got to come back, man. Y'all got to come back.
yes.
I'm going to try to get that round table with y'all and Mrs. D. Yeah, I'm going to make that happen. I'm going to try to shape that one into a show. Yeah, I'm gonna try to shape that one, because I am gonna hit her up, and I'm as soon as I get it, get it when she could come, I'll check in with you guys, and we can go ahead and have like a quote unquote legal roundtable. I actually know another lawyer I could hit up, because I'm thinking, if y'all look at my stuff, y'all see my stuff is kind of changing. I'm doing things a little differently now, so
Yeah.
it would be nice for y'all to come back and kind of sit down with the lawyers and to talk this legal stuff, man, talk this legalese, so I'll be hitting y'all up, man. It ain't gonna be long either, man. It'll be soon, probably within the next 2 weeks or so, somewhere in there,
Definitely.
at least 2 to 3 weeks, somewhere in there.
Well,
If
let
I
us
can get
know. We
I
appreciate it.
want to get everybody on at one time, get the logistics worked out, and we're gonna make this happen, because I want to see if Mrs. Dixon can come on and defend her statements.
Definitely. Man, we look
So
forward to it.
yeah, man, I'm gonna hit y'all up. Y'all. I'm gonna be like, yo, when y'all ready, I gotta. When y'all ready.
Thank you.
But I appreciate you, good brothers, man. Go ahead. Like I said, man, I modded up the Power of Offense channel. Go ahead, man. Put your information in there, man. And once again, man, just let everybody know where they can find y'all, brothers.
Thank you.
All right.
Again, we appreciate it too, Brother X.
Yeah, man. Come through anytime, man. Good stuff tonight, man. And I look forward to getting y'all back up here with the attorney, man. My brothers. Power of Offense.
Yes.
Everybody. Go ahead, look in the chat room. You will see the link there. Go ahead, hit it. Go ahead, subscribe, hit the bell, because if you don't, you know what I will do. Get on down there. Subscribe to the Power of Offense, because if you don't, you know what I'm gonna do, right? I will haunt your old black ass mama in her dreams. So if you don't want me floating over mama's bed tonight, get on down there and subscribe to my folks, man. Power of Offense, man. Once again, man, I appreciate you, brothers, man, and peace, man. I'll be talking to y'all soon, man, about 2-3 weeks.
Thank you, man. Peace.
All right.
Thank
Peace.
you.
All right. Peace, brothers.
All right.
Yeah. Just got off the line with the Power of Offense. Good talk tonight, man. Good talk tonight. The brothers told me some things that my black ass didn't know, of course. Yeah, man, this legal stuff is crazy, man. The reparations and all that stuff is crazy. And if you're just coming in, man, get on down, and you might want to rewind it, man, and head on back, man, and listen to what Brother Keith and Brother Rodney had to say. They dropped some jewels tonight, man, and I'm gonna have them back, man. I wanted to get Mrs. Dixon in here, because they had some, they had some questions about some of her talking points, and I'm gonna get this legal round table going, I guess, in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So y'all better come and check that out too. All right, but y'all know, before we go, I always hit y'all with T.P.O.T's programming notes. Yeah, because tomorrow, good folks, the one and only Nicole Ali will be here, and she will be squaring off with, damn, her face is covered. Shit, my bad. Sorry about that, Lady Mayat. She will be squaring off with Lady Mayat, and they're going to be debating government, laws, and its effect on the black family. Right? I think that's what they're debating. Hold up, y'all. Let me check. Yeah. How government works with laws and family. That's what they're going to be debating. I know all of y'all are familiar with Lady Nicole Ali, and also I know y'all got to be familiar by now with Lady Mayat girl, because she was actually here last week debating Brother J.I. So make sure you have your black behinds here tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern time, right here on the T.P.O.T YouTube page. You Negroes know. We're going to have a throwdown tomorrow, and I think tomorrow's going to be good. We're throwing down 9 o'clock. We're not doing the usual 9:30, y'all. So, get your popcorn early. It should be good because y'all know Lady Nicole is a scientist. So you already know she coming in here hot and heavy. And Lady Mayat girl was here last week. And if you were here last week, you understand when I say it's going to be very interesting. So make sure you're here, man. 9 p.m. Eastern time, right here on the T.P.O.T YouTube page. You Negroes know. Then Saturday, we end the week, man, with Mr. D.C. Glenn, also known as D.C. the Brain Supreme of the group Tag Team. That's right. He's going to be right here. Yeah. I might even can get him to sing a little bit of his song. Whoop. There it is. Nah, I wouldn't ask him that. But yeah, he's going to be here tomorrow, man. And he's going to catch us up on what he's doing now. We're probably going to talk some old school hip hop. He might even have his partner with him. I'm hoping that he does. It would be nice to get both of them on here because I believe that song went 4 times platinum back in the 90s. So, and we're going to talk about what he's up to now. We're going to talk about the state of music now, media, all that kind of stuff. So make sure you're here Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, right here on the T.P.O.T YouTube page. You Negroes know. All right? Yeah, he'll be right here, folks. So a recap. D.C. Glenn, Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and Queen Mayat Girl versus Nicole Ali. 9 p.m. Friday night. All right. All right. So, once again, man, I appreciate everybody, man, coming out tonight, man. It's always a pleasure, man, to have you good folks here, man. As always, I appreciate you coming through. As always, I appreciate the cash apps and the super chats for coming through. And a special shout out to the Power of Offense for coming through. Brother Rodney, Brother Keith, go ahead, look in the chat room, see their links, man. Go ahead, hit them up, man, and check them out. And they'll be back, man. I'm gonna try to have them back in the next couple of weeks if I can. All right. All right. So with that, I will leave you good folks with 3 words, like I always do. Open your minds.
Hours of power. Hours of power. Hours of power. Hours of power.
And so a community is where you control your police, you control your commerce, you control your education, you control your house. We don't control none of that. We live in a hood. Huh? Well, what about the Negroes that get out? Oh, well, say, my cousin, they say he's a multi-millionaire, almost got $1 billion.
The Prophet Thought
3 PhDs, working on 2 more. Driving down the street in Chicago in his Rolls Royce, enjoying himself, and he hears these sirens and looks through the mirror and see this cop car flashing lights. He squeezed the steering wheel, man. Heart beats fast. Because he knows the plight of a Negro, what it could be. And then when that cop car passed him by, he said, thank God he wasn't after you in the first place, punk. That Negro thing you can't get away from. It's universal. They wasn't coming after you. With all your millions, with your Rolls Royce, with your PhD, didn't help. That's the hood. Huh? Why do you think you never pick up the paper till you read over and over and see white families travel? You think there's thousands of black cops in America. Why don't you see white families crying as black cops shot my loved one 40 times in the back of the head? Why do you think black cops don't do that? You think they're more spiritual? Think they're better strength? No! They got enough sense to know that white folks ain't gonna tolerate it. And I will stop in our neighborhood when we decide we will not tolerate it. Now, if we was organized, which is hard to organize people who are just gonna run crazy and you don't know you're crazy. But if we were, with the money we have, and the many people who would come to our aid that don't know what it's like to be a Negro, and we said, if we said, look, we saying, if we don't get a federal law to deal with police brutality, that anytime a cop or anybody carry a gun, have to have a license just like you do to drive a car. And if you use it wrongly, you'll lose your license. And if it's upheld, you can never work again as a cop or a store guard or a private detective. How do you get Congress to push that through? Well, you take your economic power and you call on your friends, black, white, young and old, and say, this coming Christmas, if we don't have a federal law to outlaw police brutality by law, then we calling for a nationwide boycott of Christmas and it'll start on Thanksgiving. Well, let me tell you what that means. 79% of all retail in America happens between Thanksgiving and Christmas. People stay in business all year, lose money just for Christmas, huh? Well, what happens now? Huh? Sac Fifth Avenue, Toys R Us, Sears and Roebuck, Westinghouse. They will get the bill, and all they got to do is make one phone call and say, Harry, that's the senator, I want that bill pushed through in 3 days. Okay, it's an economic thing. It's that simple. But we have the power, but the system has wiped us out so bad.
Hours of power. Hours of power. Hours of power.
Copy. San Antonio, Lincoln 6. Go ahead. Clear suspect down, 10-4. That's 10-4. The officer's code 4. We have one suspect that's been shot.
Open your mind.
Only from T.P.O.T. Media. Open your mind.